Good evening and welcome to Monday night's Fools Rush In. Got an exciting night of discussion, debate and debutantes for you this evening, as we're going to be talking Swindon Town women, their result of the weekend, as well as the upcoming game at the County Ground. We've got a review of Swindon Town men's defeat at the weekend as well. And everyone who appears, or everyone who appears for the review of the game at the weekend has also been asked to provide a positive. So it's not going to be the consistently negative show you've become used to. But before we say hello to tonight's panel, let's roll the titles.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love with you.
Swindon Town into the promised land.
And I'd like to start by welcoming my right-hand man, the guy who keeps me on the straight and narrow during these things to make sure I don't go off on complete tangents. Evening, Woody.
Well, I was expecting Craig to make a sudden appearance then. Evening, Fifey, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, not too bad. So it seems like we got quite a bit to discuss tonight.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I hope it's not going to be a 3-hour special.
No, I promise to limit it that you will be able to go to bed before midnight.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that.
You're very, very welcome. Football aside, good weekend?
Yeah, it was all right. Weekend to weekend at the moment, isn't it? Football was okay. I have a different view to most people on the Swindon game on Saturday itself. But other than that, it was good. Hi, everybody who said hi so far in the chat as well, including, I think, Michelle, wasn't it? Did I see
yes,
that?
Michelle's here. Grace is there as well, yeah.
We must have the women's team on tonight.
Indeed.
Doubles our viewers.
You say... Stop it. You say that you've got a different opinion. I've been telling anyone that I'm going to make myself incredibly unpopular this evening with my views on certain aspects. But that's in an hour or so's time. We've got much more well, hopefully happier things to
Important.
discuss. Yes, as we say hello to tonight's guests, starting with Fool's regular and one of our favourites, Evening Alice. Welcome back.
Evening, thanks for having me.
No,
The
thank
other two
you.
have dropped out now. You've called Bouts a favourite. The other two have gone.
I'm everyone's secret favourite. I'm like Marmite, but I'm everyone's secret favourite.
Is that right? Is that how you describe yourself, Marmite?
I would, yeah. All my friends love me, but if you're not my friend, you don't love me.
Well, but if they're not
That's
friends
fair.
with you, who cares?
Exactly, this is true.
Of all the introductions I could have come up with, that's probably the most bizarre.
I love it, it's fine.
I do, I love it. As I said to you on Twitter earlier, you're very good at this whole media thing now. And, you know, if ever I'm unavailable to host and say Woody or Craig, they're like, no, I'm just going to ask you to do it because you're spectacular at this.
But you wouldn't be asked
I
to
can
come
imagine.
back.
I can imagine
take it
Bouts
over.
does Fools for one evening. I think that's got to happen, Fife.
Should we arrange it?
At the end of the season, because you might either gain a lot of followers or you might lose all of them.
Listen, if we get people watching it while I'm hosting it generally twice a week, then you will be absolutely fine. We do have two other guests waiting in the wings to come on, both making their Fools debut. I'd like to say hello and welcome first to Tori. Welcome to Fools.
Hi there, thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No problems at all. Happy to be Alice's second wingman.
just her moral support.
Yeah, just waiting in the shadows. Have a little hello, and then I'll.
You're
I'll
just my
pop back in.
fangirl, aren't you, Tori?
Yeah.
It's like a Sunday all over again.
And we've also get to say hello and welcome to Jen as well. How are you?
Are you good? Yeah. You've really selected the golden oldies here tonight.
I was going to say this.
I didn't want to say.
People on the team. That's why we've done it.
Yeah, you've got about 40 years of experience in senior women's football combined here. So, well done.
Funny because people would say that Woody suggests he's got that much on his own. But there we go. Thank you all for coming on. We really do appreciate it. And Tori, if I can start with you, what we like to do when we have members of the women's team come on for the first time is just find out a little bit more about you and your journey into football, if we can.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be a long story. How long have you got?
Well, there's no limit to how long I can stream for. All I've done is promise Woody he'll be in bed by midnight. So you take as long as you need.
I was shortened version.
Story, so.
Thank you very much. So where should we start? What were your sort of inspirations when you were first getting into football? Was it just the enjoyment of playing, or was there particular players that you liked watching?
It probably all just kind of came from my dad initially. He was a very good footballer. He played Saturdays and Sundays, so kind of followed him around watching, just kicking the ball along the sideline. I had cousins my age, all male, that were big football fans. So it was kind of through growing up with that kind of family that my interest really just grew. And it never was an issue that I was female. Like, I was always involved in school and happy to have a chat on the sidelines and, like I say, watch dad and get involved with that side of things. So it was an easy thing to be a part of, and that just continued throughout my entire life. I loved it and never had any barriers. I was quite lucky that I could get involved in the boys team growing up, and then through Swindon Spitfires as well. They were always quite big with getting girls involved from a young age and making it easy for them to play.
And I like what you said there about that you didn't particularly have many barriers. So were you able to sort of start young and just carry on playing all the way through, or was there a point where you kind of had to take a break out? Or
I never actually took a break. I do remember there was a time between the ages of 14 and 16 where there was never that like legal age group that I could actually get involved in competitive games. I was too old for the boys and too young for like women's senior football. I never went to like academies or the age groups that a lot of kids now go through. It was stop at 14 and start at 16 for senior. But I never ever really stopped playing. It was just the competitive side of things where I couldn't legally be involved in like your leagues, for example.
No, that makes sense. And if you don't mind asking, how did you find when you were able to start getting involved again? How did you find the transition at that point? Was it a difficult one to make?
No,
Do you remember that far back, Tori?
Yeah, I was going to say we're going back at early 2000s now. Cheers, Alex. I was going to say it was quite lucky because Bevmore at Swindon Spitfires, it was one of the people that you knew around the area and you could go to and talk to and see what she was saying about how to get involved. And again, it was my dad. He took me to the practices and stuff like that. But I was able to train with the girls, even if I couldn't play on a game day. So I didn't, like I say, I didn't have that break. I couldn't play competitively until I was 16, but I'd already been training with the girls and I knew the club and the infrastructure and everything. So it was simple for me.
And away from playing then, if you don't mind asking, sort of who you support, and were there any sort of particular favourite players as you were growing up and starting to play competitively yourself?
So it's always been male dominated for watching teams and everything else. I never had any female role models growing up, although I do remember Karen Carney and Kelly Smith and players like that were starting to come to the forefront, but that was much later in my teen years, again showing my ages and stuff there. So now I'm a big West Ham fan, and my granddad used to live in the East End and mum used to go and stuff like that. But when I was growing up, all my family used to support Man United and going through like when they won the treble and David Beckham and the class of '92 and stuff. So they were massive role models.
Nice. No, I mean, ultimately, no matter who you ask, family generally dictates that sort of thing as to where you're going to end up. I mean, even for me, when I was proper young kid first getting into football, I was living up in Scotland and my dad was a Rangers fan. But then when I moved back down to Swindon, it was always going to be Swindon as my hometown club. So, and my older brother was a Swindon fan and stuff, so it just kind of fell under his wing. So that it makes complete sense. Okay, Jen, if I can ask you the same sort of questions then, sort of your journey to where we are now, and then we'll go into inspirations and club supported, etc.
I feel like the three of us here have all had fairly similar starts in football, especially me and Bouds, actually. So I think we both started at Blunsdon when we were sort of under 10s, under 12s age group. And then moved on. I played for the boys as well for a little bit at Blunsdon, and then as Tori moved on to Swindon Spitfires. But me and Bouds were a bit luckier because when we sort of hit 12, 13, the academy structure sort of formed a bit more. So we had the Centre of Excellences. That's where we parted ways. Bouds went to Wiltshire, I went to Gloucestershire Centre of Excellence. And then just sort of kept going through, went off to college in Bristol, SGS now. Played all through university and then went back senior level to sort of Swindon Spitfires for a bit. Did a little bit at St Nick's, who used to be within the league as well. And then I actually took a break for a few years, went travelling, and then I found myself here back at.
Did you find yourself, or did you find your soul?
Yeah, I took a gap year or 3, and then came back. Yeah, so here I am.
So again, there's the slight difference in your story. So what was it that was traveling something you always wanted to do, and how did you kind of, like, say, find your way back again?
How did you find yourself?
Oh, well, no, I always wanted to sort of see the world a little bit. So when I finished university, had a couple of years work under the belt, I just took the opportunity to take the money that I'd earned and go off to New Zealand. The plan was only ever to be away for a year, but I ended up there for about 3 years. But because of where I was working out there, I just didn't have the opportunity to play. So obviously when I came back home, I jumped at the chance to start playing again. And just Swindon was obviously the closest and sort of best team near us. So I thought I'd try my luck with them. Here I am, sort of 3.5 years later, still here.
Trying your luck.
Trying my luck still. Trying my best to get on the pitch.
I do find it interesting hearing everyone's journeys because, like you say, although Jen, you said there were some similarities. There's always that bit of difference. Did you find any sort of blocks to do with girls? And you said you got to play with boys teams at a certain age, and then you had that difference with the academies and centre of excellence being available.
Yeah, I'd say like obviously the Centre of Excellence was really great. That was sort of the start of like full-time academies. Like we were training twice a week with them, playing on the weekend. But I think the only difference in the block that I'd say I had growing up was sort of school. Secondary school football just was not available to girls. It was either hockey, netball, tennis, rounders, and you just did not have the opportunity to play. So I think that would be the main sort of difference.
Interestingly, actually on that, and a question for all three of you really, because I don't think I asked you this either. Was it always football, or did you try, or did you enjoy some of the other ones as well?
For me, it was always football. My dad absolutely loves football, so when I got told at like 5 years old that I was good at football, my dad didn't believe him. And when he actually saw me play, he's like, this is it. So like my brother wasn't really allowed to play football. So my dad was like, don't really think you're going to be as good as your sister. So they made him play rugby. He's hated me for that ever since.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Can't wait to do that to my daughter.
I was one of the like the lick asses. So I did every sport I was told.
Yeah,
so I just enjoyed it all.
I was the same. I sort of football was the only one I really did outside of school, but I played for a netball club for a while as well. But generally, football was the only one outside of school. I did every sport available to me in school, but outside of school, it was always football focused.
If you're good at one sport in school, you tend to be good at everything. Like you're in all the teams and you get around a little bit and do it all.
That explains why I never got in any of the teams then. I was just rubbish at all of them. So was it the same for you there, Tori? At school, you would have tried virtually everything that was on offer, but was it always football for you as well?
Yeah, same as. I remember hockey, tennis, like Jen was saying there, rounders was a lot of fun in the summer, but everything was football and outside of school. I think I upset all the boys. I got Footballer of the Year one year, and they were all really annoyed at that. I know, I had to get that one in, but I couldn't do it in school, so I did it outside.
No, I like that. That's class. And so, Jen, just back to you quickly then. Outside of you playing, if I could ask team sport and any sort of football icons or heroes of yours?
Alice Bowden.
I mean, everyone's favourite, as we established.
Everyone's favourite.
My captain, idolised. No, to be honest, I hate to say it, but I also was sort of captured by the class of '92 as I was younger, similar age to Tori.
It is allowed. It's fine. It's not a taboo topic.
It feels like a cheat, though, doesn't it? Because I feel like everyone of this sort of age group, I saw 80% of us supported United when we were in primary school. And I was a big fan of Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes, actually. So they were sort of two of my favourite players.
Sensational players, to be fair to them. Completely understandable that. Okay, so if we can move on to more modern times then. It's exciting times around Swindon Town women. It's, that we're seeing more people talking about the game, social media, going to games. We're seeing more opportunities through the likes of ourselves and Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge, where members of the team like yourselves are getting to come on and talk. So are you feeling that excitement as well, Tori, sort of around the place? Are you feeling that sort of external energy?
Definitely, 100%. It's all very, very new. We all talk about it when we're in the gym and on the pitch, and it's a talking point that never was talked about within us. So we know it coming from the outside, and to see attendances, and you can hear people. Like, I remember going back to the start of the season at Foundation Park. I never had experienced that as like a home atmosphere before. So knowing that, and like you say, the podcasts and us all being invited to talk and chat about it, you can definitely tell the difference, and it's very fun. It's a great thing to be a part of.
It's great to hear that you find it fun. And again, I think, I mean, Woody would be better placed than me because I'm quite honest. I'm still learning a lot about the women's side of the game, and I'm thankful to the likes of yourselves for coming on and kind of educating me in that. But I am also enjoying the positivity from sort of outside of the team that I'm seeing and reading and hearing, and when people are talking to me about it. So if I'm enjoying that, then like you say, Tori, I imagine you can almost feed off it a little bit.
Definitely. You can, like you say, feed off of it is really, really good. But I think, well, myself, I'll talk for me, but I would have to learn about that from the inside, if you know what I mean. Like you were saying, you're learning about the women's team and the women's football. We've obviously all been a part of it and had it growing up, but now trying to understand how other people are viewing it and want to know about it and get involved, it's a very, very different perspective and understanding of how people perceive it or want to get involved in it and what they think of it from our side as well.
No, 100%. And Jen, a lot of people will put down to obviously the Lionesses' success, and people already talk about the upcoming tournament as well. But are you, it's kind of similarly, are you now noticing that, again, people are talking about Swindon Town women's players, like locally? People are actually, that they know who you are, and they talk about games they've been to, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the difference now compared to sort of 5 years ago is huge. People are interested. People are, you're talking to someone. Oh, you play for Swindon Town. Oh, that's awesome. And I think, like Tori said, that it's just having that many people come to our games, like at Foundation Park at the start of the season. We never would have seen that come, even 2 or 3 years ago. So obviously all the young players coming in now, they don't, this is all they know.
Yeah.
But it has not been like this at all, not by any stretch of the matter. So yeah, we're seeing a huge difference, and obviously doing things like this, being able to engage with the community more, I think it's only going to drive that forward. So yeah, it's great.
And do you enjoy sort of being able to do that side of thing now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's something we never would have had the opportunity to do before. So I think, you guys giving us that opportunity, we can only be grateful for that. And yeah, it's really enjoyable to be a part of.
Well, you certainly don't need to be grateful to us. As I said, we're very grateful that you've taken time out to talk to us. More's the point. Shall we talk about the weekend just gone before we talk about the weekend coming up? Alice, I'll bring you in because I think the word we both said, she's turned the camera off. We both used the word frustrating.
Oh.
It was very frustrating, but I'll start with Jen because Jen, you had a lovely pass, and I know you want to relive it again. So I've put
the video. I've been reliving it for the last every 5 minutes on my phone for the last. So.
Sorry, carry on.
No. Baldo, you know what? I'm shy. I don't want to talk about it. It's all about.
She wants you to talk about it.
I think you should share it, Jen, and we'll retweet it for you.
Okay.
Oh my God! If it hasn't been shared already,
to be honest,
has it been shared already?
Yeah, Annie shared it on Instagram. But to be honest, I just pinged a long ball, and I'm lucky that I've got really good strikers like Annie to be able to get on the end of it and put it in the net.
That's modest, isn't it?
It's the old saying, make a bad pass look good, isn't it?
No, you know what? All right, but no,
you really meant it.
The finish was unbelievable. To be fair to Annie, we're lucky we got good strikers to make me look good.
It did all start really well, being 2-0 up, didn't it, Alice? And we've said tonight we want to focus on as many positives as possible. So let's start with the positive. Is it all started looking really well?
I don't think there is too many negatives to the game. The first 45 minutes was an absolutely unreal shift from everyone. The passes of play, the way that we were communicating with each other, the way we were passing each other with the ball, receiving it. If we did make a mistake, how we were reacting to that was fantastic. And that's why we were 2-0 up. We were outplaying them. The game that we played before against them, they were sort of cutting us open a little bit. but it didn't happen yesterday. The only thing they had was trying to put the ball over the top, and to be fair, we dealt with that very well. And I don't really know how they scored 3 goals.
No. It was very frustrating. To be honest, it was impressive how the girls, especially in the middle as well, how like Tori and the girls in the middle were able to string these passes together on the condition that they were playing on as well. You know, they were playing sort of one-touch patterns of play on a pitch that you could barely take a good touch on, and even stood behind them watching. I was like, this is great to watch. So it really is a shame what happened with the result, to be honest.
Tori's just sat there with a big smile on her face as you're saying all that. So I think it's only fair.
I did my job.
Yeah, I did my bit.
No, not at all. It's the team thing. But like the girls were saying, it's really difficult in our level of football that you can get games when you look like you should have won 8-0 and you've lost, or games where you might have just scraped that victory or something else. But we really earned that 2-0 win in the first 45. Like, we were all over them. We did really good things going forward at the back, like all over the pitch. Deserved the 2-0. And then they obviously equalised before half-time to make it 2-1, made it a bit nervous. But it was a free kick and a penalty that won them the game. So it's the little things that, you know, it shifts the result. It shifts your focus a little bit and feelings after the game. But the 45 minutes we should really focus on, because we did, everybody from front to back, put a real good shift in.
How easy is it to do that when you're looking at a game? I mean, you've all kind of said there plenty of positives. You kind of don't know how it's ended up, and it's the small margins with a free kick and a penalty. So overall, you're quite happy, I suppose, with the performance, but not the result. How easy is it to differentiate the two?
I think after a day, 24 hours, I think it's a lot easier. I think we can all say that we went into that changing rooms yesterday highly disappointed. Like I said to the girls back then, and when I got home, let's never feel like that again. We felt cheated, really, I felt like, because they didn't deserve to win. But again, somehow a team's nicked a win from us by, like Tori said, those 2 small margins, which is very disappointing. But obviously we've got a big week coming up. So I said to the girls, if you want to fester it over the weekend. But as soon as we come back to training tomorrow night, that's gone then. And we just need to focus on the task in hand, which is Sunday.
100%. And let's talk about Sunday, because you're back at the county ground.
Fifey. So yes, I just got a question on that.
Yeah, go on.
Just wondering, because obviously you guys know I know Moneyfields very well.
Mm-hmm.
Who don't you know very well? Jesus.
Well, Moneyfield's done to my Abingdon team what they did to you many times.
Did you coach Abingdon?
Yeah, I coached Abingdon, mate. Yeah.
Has he ever mentioned it?
In that game? Were you playing in that game where we beat Swindon when we only had 10 men on the field?
No, I don't think. I think I was on holiday. That's why you might have won, because I wasn't there.
I'll just leave this to you now.
Yeah. No, the only reason was because one thing I said about, because when Moneyfields went up, I had a chat with James, and I said, to be fair, they, in my opinion, they are one of the best teams in terms of game management. You know, you can never guarantee a lead with them. You know, they can really shithouse their way to a victory. You know, Carl, their manager, is very shithousery. He'll get in the referee. I'm assuming he was still the same. Get in the referee's ear. They've got a couple of players that have played at a decent level with Portsmouth in a shithouse team in Portsmouth as well. I just wondered if, because I haven't had a chance to see Moneyfields this season, I wondered if they were quite similar to that yesterday. Yeah, Sunday yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
That's the same they are.
Yeah.
That sort of way, like Moneyfield's way, they've got a big pool of talent from like Southampton, Portsmouth. So all of them, I won't say rejected, but when they can't play for those teams anymore, there's always a team that they gravitate to, and it's going to be that sort of team. And they had good players, a lot of players I played with or against different teams, and they know how to play football. They're not a bad footballing side, and sometimes maybe they might have had a bit more experience of like game management or what. But
I think one thing I'll give to Moneyfields is physicality. They are they are one of the most physical teams within the league, which, you know, that can really help you. And yesterday, I think we matched them in terms of physicality yesterday. But you know, that's again one of the things that hurt us last time as well.
Do you reckon the pitch worked in it? I know we were at home, but do you reckon the pitch worked in their favour a little bit? I know we had Tory's magical masterclass in the first half, obviously, but
I wouldn't blame. It is one of those. We still played good football on that pitch. So yeah,
and they didn't really play much good football, to be honest. What did they do? Did they manage to get 3 or 4 passes round us? No. What did they do? They got the ball. They had it at the back, and what did they do? Oh, let's try and put it over the top. Oh, let me just get my head up to look over the top again. They didn't really put anything through us.
I mean, that is how I got Annie got our goal.
Admire honesty there, Jen.
If it works for us, it's fine.
It was a continental long ball from Jen. From them, it was hoofing and forward.
Classic Cal.
We haven't done that in ages. The difference between a hoof and a continental long ball.
It was a continental long ball. I'm just saying.
That became for a short period mine and Woody's go-to saying for any long ball. If any Swindon player had done it, it was a continental long ball.
I think that's Cal Ross's phrase for any long ball that we play as well.
It is.
Yeah.
Because it's very atmospheric. So
yeah.
always under those skies.
Sorry, Woody, did you have anything else you wanted to follow on with? Or
I was just interested to see if they were still the same kind of team.
Yes.
But yeah, it sounds like
yes, in a word, yes.
Not surprised, and I've had many wars with Carl Watson, so it's it's quite I guess reassuring, because I thought they would I thought they were going to struggle Moneyfields this year. I thought that their players were getting a bit older and they were going to, but I think they did suddenly recruit about 15 players 2 weeks before the season started. So, but
they've done themselves very, very well for the first season they've been in this league and stuff. They've done really, really well, and I wouldn't say they're more or less shithousery than a lot of other teams in this league. So they've probably matched us and matched the league and kind of stepped up, as it were.
No, fair play to them.
Yeah,
very diplomatic, Tory.
Thanks.
Yeah, what we want to know is what you would say if you weren't live and how you would phrase it then. That's how we prefer to hear it.
I'm a very diplomatic person.
She is.
While the camera's on.
Give her a few drinks and she's totally different.
Yeah.
Oh well, again, end of season. Well, when Alice has presented it, we'll get her back on with after having a few drinks, shall we?
We'll have to do a drunken version at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That could be sensational. Absolutely sensational.
I
would happily hand the reins over for that and just sit and watch it.
Wouldn't have a team to play for next year, but it'd be great.
You already mentioned it, but this weekend, back at the county ground, and Tori, actually, I'll stick with you first. Exciting to be playing at the county ground again.
Very much so. I had a great time. I didn't get too long in the Plymouth game, but played full 90 for Poulton, and I must say it was one of the best days of football I've ever had. I haven't been lucky enough to play at the county ground before, so it was actually my first game of being on the pitch. I had a couple of injuries and stuff in previous seasons, and I just felt that everything went right in terms of atmosphere and play and how we got the goals that we did and the buzz around the place. And I'm just really looking forward to getting back out on the pitch and kind of trying to do it all again. Is
it the same for you, Jen?
Oh yeah, 100%. Honestly, just being there, having that buzz, there's nothing like it. We could not have dreamed about that when we were, starting up 10, 12 years ago. The amount of people that were there at the Poulton game, and just the noise, the stadium wasn't even close to being full, but the noise when we scored was unbelievable. It's nothing I've heard myself playing in a game before. So yeah, it's going to be great.
Michelle, they're saying we can't wait. We'll be there to support the ladies.
Oh, I love Michelle.
But thank them. We'll say thank you to them as well. They were there on Sunday.
Actually, on that note, on that note, we should, if I could just take a moment to congratulate the under-18s as well for this weekend, winning in their cup semi-final. Massive congratulations to them. And we look forward to welcoming Grace on in the not too distant to, I'm sure, preview and, as long as the result goes away as expected, probably review the final in a very special way as well.
That will be a long episode.
Oh yeah.
Not if our internet was like it was last time.
Yeah.
Oh, true, yeah.
love where Grace goes.
We'll make sure we advertise that game as well, because that will be a good final against Cumnor. That'll be a very good final. We'll make sure we get advertising on that.
100%. So Alice, I asked the other two. So are you excited again to be back at the county ground for this one?
I am. I just love being able to play at the county ground, especially being in the centre of town, the home of Swindon. Hopefully it attracts more people to come out and watch the women's team and the women's sport, and hopefully to see some more youngsters down there. I love it when you see all the young ones come down there and they ask you like little questions, and you can just see like the little magic in their eyes, like just that maybe the one day that could be them. And that's what really drives big games like this for me.
I like that, because it can be quite a kind of a self-fulfilling thing when you get these kind of moments, I imagine, in football. But the fact that you're looking again at the impact it's having not just on you, but the community around you. That's nice.
Maybe it's because I'm getting old, but I just love like meeting them all and just seeing how like excited they are. And I remember last time, just this little girl, she was just telling me about the team that she played for in her position, but you could just tell she was really excited. And I think just for someone maybe to take them like a little bit seriously, and that they are like little footballers as well. I think sometimes, like I met a little girl before and she was saying like her dad came to speak to me and he said, at school all the boys are taking a mick out of her because she like loves football and she wants to be a footballer. And I was like, well, why can't you be? You've just watched us play here. We just beat Bolton 10-0. Why can't this be you? And
100%.
just like the impact her mum spoke to me a few days after, and she said just the impact of her going to school and things like that, being able to tell the boys like this is what I did on the weekend, really like cheered her up and made her feel better about being who she is and what she likes to do. And I think like obviously Jen and Tori can probably agree with me, like being the sort of older ones in the team, that's sort of what we want to do, and try and spur the next people to come on and score the winners or save the winning goal or something like that.
100%. And I think it's not even just the younger girls as well. Before the Paul Town game, I went and coached a local boys sort of under 12s team, and they all came along to the county ground game as well. And I think it's so important as well for lads of that age to see females, women playing at that level. And I remember they were all there, and after they spoke to me at halftime, they were all like, "Can I have your boots? Can I have your boots after the game, Jen?" It's not how it works in the women's game. Sorry, don't let me wear boots every 3 weeks.
I'll pay for them myself.
But for them to sort of be there and almost like idolising the girls that were on the pitch is really important, because it then also takes away that attitude with the little girl that Alice was talking about, where she's sort of being taken the mick out of by boys for playing. They're then there seeing women play, and it also shows them that it's okay for girls to play, which I think is awesome.
No, 100%. And I'd like to think that there has been some sort of change in attitude. I mean, for me, again, looking for the outside, because it's not something I would have ever really paid that much attention to when I was growing up, sort of teenage years. But I knew there was a couple of girls at school when I was sort of secretary who liked to play football, and we were quite happy for them to kind of join in when they wanted to. But outside of that, I would never kind of recognised people sort of taking the mick for it. So it's good to know that, well, it's not good to know that it's still happening, but good to know that there is that impact where, they're seeing you do it and realising it's okay, and moulding, like say, not just girls' attitudes towards it, but boys' attitudes towards it as they grow up as well. It's a big thing. Alice, what sort of, for those who are able to go on Sunday, what sort of game do you think they should expect?
A very close game. Southampton, they always have been and always will be a team that we sort of get under each other's skin, if that's the word. We both sort of know how each other play. It's a bit like chess. We sort of know what each other are going to do, and it's who can like flick the person off the board first. So I think it's going to be a close game.
I think you've played chess before.
Bowles has just made chess sound so much more exciting.
Like mash Ron off the thing. That's what I was thinking.
I'm now picturing that. I'm now picturing that Harry Potter scene where all the chess pieces come alive and just start smashing each other up.
It could be a little bit like that, but we're both very hyper aware of each other's abilities and strengths and weaknesses, and both teams are going to try and hold on to that. So it's going to be a very tactical game for both sides, both very physical sides as well. But I think it's going to be an equally matched game, and I think it's going to be an exciting game to watch because there's just going to be a lot going on.
And confident of 3 points, Tori?
It's going to be a hard fought thing if we get it, and really, really something that we can do. But I think, Bowles, you summed it up really nicely there. Like, very evenly matched. We both have strengths and weaknesses that each team knows the others. So it's going to be very close. And I think the crowd are definitely going to have an impact as well. So it's something that it's great to have at the county ground to try and get as many people down to cheer us on as possible. It's going to be that extra little bit of an advantage for us to try and go get those 3 points.
No, 100%. And obviously, we'll be encouraging people through our social media as best as we can to get down and support as well, where possible. Jen, yourself, confident, or are you going to play the corporate line as well? It's going to be tough. You're not going to be the one that comes out and we're going to smash them.
No, I am fully going to sort of sit on the fence on this one. It really does. There's a lot that could depend on it on the day, you know. Again, like Tor said, having people behind us and having a crowd there, I think that really helps us. You know, there's games this season, Bournemouth at home at Foundation Park, Larkhall at home, you know, Paultown. When you've got that noise and those people watching you, I think it actually really, really spurs us to sort of play even better. And really, we're not just doing it for us on the pitch then, we're doing it for everyone who showed up. So yeah, that's going to be massively important to the day. And yeah, hopefully we can sort of get the 3 points. But yeah, I'm on the fence. I have every faith we can, but
it's a case of we can, but will we, sort of thing.
Yeah,
I'm confident.
Will.
Can and we will, like it.
We're gonna do it.
That's what we were looking for.
We'll fucking smash it, all right?
There we go.
42 minutes, and they're finally embedded into Fools.
More continental long balls, you know.
There's nothing we like to see more than a well-executed continental long ball.
Right, I'm saying it. It's an
you can execute it one time a season, Jen.
I know.
I love you, but
Annie Colston hat-trick.
All from Jen's continental long balls.
All three from me, from the bench probably, but in the last 5 minutes when I get on.
So 0-0 till the last 5 minutes, and then every long ball.
And well, actually, maybe I'll get a couple of headers too. So it's fine.
Okay. Things to watch out for.
Yeah. Little Jen Gray bingo card on there.
I was just going to say we need to produce a bingo card.
What was it? Jen, when you were warming up? That was the last game I went to watch a couple of weeks ago, and Emerson was about to come on, and somebody said that she's only 18, and you went, "Wait until she's fucking 21 or something."
Someone was saying how good she was at 8. I was like that at 17. I was like, well, wait till she's fucking 21 then.
That's true. She's going to be bloody immense, to be fair to her.
And are you seeing? So, how much of an eye do you keep on sort of the young ones? And are you seeing the next crop coming through?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, I don't know about you girls, but I would say definitely. Like, we're really starting to see some good young talent come up through the squad. We've already got a couple of sort of young ones that are regularly appearing in the first team. You know, Sky, Emerson, they're both, 17, 18 years old and really, really great players. So yeah, I think we are. What about you guys?
100%. We get to train with the development girls, so they're on at the same time we are. So sometimes we're involved in each other's sessions, but even if we're not, we're able to see what they're doing if we've got a break and things like that. And on Mother's Day, I went to go see the development team as well. So it's just little things like that. Just keeping an eye on what's coming through, having a good relationship with the coaches, and once someone is a little bit confident to come up, like they can come and train with us and stuff like that. And even Emerson said to me the other day, she was like, oh my goodness, like the intensity of training compared to other things that she's been through, she was like, is crazy. But she's settled in now. She's bloody scoring goals for fun.
Certainly is. Longer term, if we can. So season tickets came, or news of season tickets came out the other day, and that means, I believe, Alice, is it 5 games at the county ground next year?
Yeah, 5 games minimum at the county ground next season. So that's already an amazing start to next season already. I remember this season we were saying we'd try and have a few games, and obviously that's happened. But I know in seasons before we've been promised things and hasn't always happened. So to know that we're going to play at least 5 games is incredible, and especially if you love Swindon Town as well, to be able to come to the county ground for that amount of money and see this amount of talent. Fantastic.
I think as well, you
hit
5.
Sorry, would you carry on?
No,
sorry, I was just going on from what Bowd said, really. To have it confirmed before the end of even this season is great, and it shows that the investment and going under the banner of Swindon Town Men and everything else, it's really going to have that knock-on effect to try and grow us as a women's team and get people involved. So I'm loving that. I think that's a real positive step forward.
Yeah.
Actually, on that point, Jen, I think it was you that said sort of young players are only kind of used to how things are now, whereas, as you all keep making reference to, you're all the older ones.
Doing it for the oldies.
How, aside from the external factors, things like coming on podcasts, that kind of thing, are you seeing noticeable change now that this phrase coming under the umbrella of the men's team? Is there fundamental changes you're seeing, and are they happening maybe quicker than you expected?
I don't know how to answer that. In terms of sort of like training, facilities, what kind of what?
However you want to interpret.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it's quicker and slower.
Yeah, it's quicker than it has been, because, you know, before nothing's ever happened from sort of what's been promised from my understanding. There's always been communication about how things are going to progress and things are going to change. Obviously, I think we spoke to Clem for the first time about a year and a half ago, in September, and sort of that was last season. And we didn't see a lot of change happen last season, but I think this season it started to come in thick and fast. Obviously, we understand there was a lot going on within the club, that was much higher priority. But now we seem to be seeing sort of all sorts going on, more games at the county ground. You know, talks about, you know, all the same kit next season. We're getting the bus that sort of like we use the same bus as the men for game days away, which is, you know, not having to get in your cars and drive to a game that's 2.5 hours away. It's brilliant for all sorts of aspects, just like the team bonding side, sort of everyone in the same place being able to chat before the game, as well as sort of your legs. You know, if you're the girl who's driving 3 hours and then has to get on a pitch and play, it makes a massive difference. So yeah, I think we are really starting to see those changes come in now, and I think we're just all really excited for next season to see sort of how that keeps progressing.
I do love to hear the positivity, and as you said, the fact that things like 5 games to county ground already announced before this season is even finished must give you a real boost ahead of the next season. Alice, our very own Nick's got in touch on the chat, just remembering the last time he was on the show with you. He's still waiting to attend a game so he can start your very own chant. But I'm sure he will be there sooner rather than later to do so.
Nick, if you do the chant, and I've also thought of another thing, a banner.
You just want.
You're just putting idea. Nick's got a lot of money.
The thing is, Nick will sort this out.
I just meant like a few pieces of paper and a sharp.
No. Well, they'll now you've said that, there'll be like a fully paint job.
While you're at it, I think a life-size cut-out human for her to sign after the game.
Do you know what? That'd be great. People could have selfies before the game.
And you wouldn't even need to be. You could make. It could be a great picture. You know.
I could.
You're so much everyone's favourite, you don't need to turn up for the pictures anymore. Just put the cardboard cutout there.
Job done. They'll be queuing around the corner.
Yeah, and I'll just put hashtag meet Bowds and the best one.
Meet Bowds. This one doesn't blink.
I do have this image now, though, that Nick is going to get this big sign, and there'll be a game where at least half of the Fool's regular panel turn up, and it will just stand there. There'll be this massive sign saying, "Who the fuck is Alex?"
I would love that. I would love that.
I would love that so much.
We will definitely have to get that sorted as well before she takes over hosting duties at the end of the season. I did just want to ask, because Tori, I think it was you that mentioned earlier, playing games at Foundation Park. We've had a few members of the TWR over the course of the season, and they said even that's been a real boost, because it's a different atmosphere to even playing at the county ground, because it's obviously a different setup and stuff. How much have you been enjoying getting time there as well?
Yeah, I've liked it there. Loved it there, actually. Really, really nice pitch. Really easy location. I have an extended family who are all very, very lazy, and they can't be bothered to take a trip out to Fairford. So it's nice for them to be like, oh, you're in the centre of town, on it to Tesco, and then pop over and have a look. So it's nice just
pop over and have a look.
Yeah, have a look.
Or do they
see
just
if you're
look
playing
outside?
Yeah. I'm not paying. I can have a look through the fence.
Bring their chairs.
Only see if it's worth the entrance fee if I'm on the pitch.
That's true.
Yeah, but it's great that it's a central location and people know where it is generally. Like it sounds stupid, but it's not anything, you have to research, you put in your sat nav, you know how far away it is or whatever. Just the other side of the county ground for everybody that goes there regularly on a Saturday or ever been before. It's a great thing to have as a central location for Swindon fans, and a nice pitch. We quite like being there.
You're smiling, Jen. Do you like being there as well?
We do. We don't lose there, do we? Yet.
Yeah.
Sorry, we haven't lost there. I'm not going to stop at that.
This is the sort of confidence we were looking for. So now I'm going to ask you again: how much are you going to win by at the weekend? Now you're all happy and smiling and confident. Yeah, lovely. I really appreciate the fact that you've all come on, fairly late on a Monday night. So thanks again. It's been a pleasure, particularly to meet you, Tori and Jen, and Alice. Always fun having you on. Thank you very much. We look forward to you're back again on Friday, aren't you?
I'm everyone's favourite. I've got to give the fans what they want.
Got to give the fans what they want.
What's going on with me?
We can hear you, Tori.
Sorry.
One's ready for bed. She's worried about it.
I'll get my blanket out in a minute.
But no, thank you very much for taking time out your Monday evenings. Alice, we'll see you again on Friday. But all three of you are welcome on anytime you like. And if I don't speak to, well, obviously I'll speak to you, Alice, but particularly for you two and the rest of the team, wish you the very best of luck for the weekend.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
thank you. See you again soon.
See you again soon. Yeah, thanks.
We really, really do appreciate every time members of Swindon Town Women come on, and they're always such fun to have. Waiting in the wings, we have two further panelists who are going to have to work very hard to be anywhere near as entertaining as our three special guests this evening. So let's first of all welcome young Nicholas to the stream. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, Fifey. I've already started looking up for the posters, so yeah, we'll sort something out.
I knew you would be listening to that. There is absolutely going to be some sort of Alice poster by the end of the season.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'll hold her to her word. So yeah, we'll do a who that is Alice.
Lovely. And also waiting, and certainly will not be short of an opinion tonight, I'm sure, is Ben. How are you, sir?
Hello, boys. Yes, all very good, thanks.
You're all very loud tonight, Ben.
Yeah, I've had coffee to keep me going. That's what's keeping me chipper at the moment, so it's all good.
Woody will be back with us in just a couple of minutes. But obviously, we've spent the first hour talking about women's football. Shall we move on to men's football? And we are looking for positives. We were asked to all bring one positive with us. And it couldn't be sort of, oh, we love the ownership, etc. Let's try and keep it specific to Saturday. But there is one positive before that, and it's that we've got a fifth panelist who's just jumped into the lobby. Good evening, 5 shows a week, Gary.
Evening all.
How are you, pal? You okay?
He's regular now.
Well, thank you.
He's loving it this
I've got
season.
the buzz. Can't keep me away.
Loves it.
So we were all challenged by Danny to come with a positive. So let's kick things off in positive fashion. And I will do mine first because I have threatened that by the end of this episode, I'm going to be incredibly unpopular with some of the opinions I'm likely to share. So let's start with a positive. And I've hijacked a picture that we were sent. And for me, no matter win, lose or draw, no matter what team up and down the country you support, we've all, followed football a long time. And what everyone says is important is appealing to the kids. Our very own Mark was there with his son Oscar at the weekend. And when I got sent this picture, that is everything. Seeing a kid happy to be at the county ground, watching Swindon Town and making memories. So that is my positive from the game on Saturday. Nick?
My positive actually follows on from that. It was meeting Mark for the first time. Obviously, I've only talked to him on screen previously, so it was good meeting him. And we had a double hat report, so that was another positive.
We did have a double hat report. It was Twitter made me split the video up. It was so long. Gary, positive from you, please, sir.
In a game full of reds and yellows, Khan didn't get sent off.
Hey!
I'll take it.
Ben?
Going to the game itself, I would say we showed some stubbornness and a spine that we had.
Is that just me and you on WhatsApp, or is that the team on Saturday?
I think we actually showed some stubbornness and some spine, and we made ourselves difficult to beat, which is something we've been lacking all season. I think we've been a bit of a pushover, to be honest, in a lot of games. And I think we actually defended really well and resolutely. And that is a good positive. And I hope you sign forwards. Great to see FBT back. And it was quite a good partnership with Brewitt.
Lovely. We will ask Woody his positive when he comes back on screen. There was so much to digest from this game. I think the only way to do this any sort of justice, we've got a couple of positives coming in from the chat like this. Evening, Garth. I'm with that. Ben definitely showed some guts. And then we've got Hang here seeing the disabled group playing at half time with massive smiles. Great to see. Yes, I saw good. I saw the clips and stuff. It was very, very good indeed. The only way we're going to do this, anything that resembles justice, guys, I think, is to kind of start at the beginning and just work our way through to the end.
Yeah.
So our intro to this segment is about as long as Wakeling stayed on the pitch. 37 seconds. Let's start with a straw poll because we're all technically supposed to be biased. Gary, I'll start with you. I think we all agree it was a penalty, but do we agree it was a red card?
I can see why it was a red. I felt it was a bit harsh, but you can see why it's a red.
Okay, Ben?
I have to go with the letter of the law. I thought it was a red card. I thought it was the last man. Cole Noyle was through on goal. I can see why some fans says why it was early and it ruins the game, and some referees would just say that's your one off. But if that's a Stockport player doing that to a Swindon player after 20 seconds, I'm screaming for a red. I think it's a red.
Nick?
Yeah, having looked at it back at it, yeah, it's a definite penalty. And it's one of those letter of the law. It's a red, and I agree with Ben. If it had been the other way round, we'd have been screaming for the red. So it was harsh, but it was probably, I'd hate to say it, the expected decision.
For me, I don't think it was harsh. I think it's a stonewall red. And you know, I know Woody is going to quote something that I'll probably misquote shortly, but I believe the only way he avoids is if he makes an attempt to play the ball, and just outright charging through the back of somebody is not attempting to play the ball. So I think it's clumsy is probably the right word, Ben.
Then a forward challenge.
Yeah, forward challenge. Yeah, for a football cliche. Yeah, that's very much up there as well. But no, for me, definite red. Woody, before we get your take on the red card, you owe us a positive from Saturday, please.
Oh, I was hoping I was going to miss that bit. Sorry, I had some strange noises happening outside, and I had to go check what they were. Positives. My positive was picking a seat at random and ending up next to Nick. That was my positive.
All the luck.
Speaking of which,
I knew I was looking in the right area. But...
Speaking of which, the County Grounds master photographer sent me a message earlier today, and see if you could spot any fools in this picture. Look how happy they look.
That's the happiest I've looked at the County Ground all year.
Is that it was that stood up on the phone? Was that the manager? I'm going that picture back up again.
No, it's my son giving him instructions.
Is that Morris?
It doesn't look like him a bit there, did he, actually?
What I want to know is, I believe Mark was only supposed to be sort of 2 seats away from Nick, but somehow not in this picture.
He was next to the guy with the hat on the... So
I see.
His son was there, and then Mark was the next one across.
Nice. Okay, well, that's your positive, and well done for picking that seat, Woody. So tell us, red card, penalty, do you agree?
Well, as you guys know, I'm bored of fucking discussing it now, but
it's all right, we're moving on very quickly.
Penalty 100%, red card not for me. The reason being is because too many people are saying he should have been sent off because he was the last man. That is not the rule. Okay, there has to be a supplementary reason for the sending off. Now, if the supplementary reason is he was pushing the player, which, to be fair, if you're going into a tussle like that, arms go everywhere anyway. He was going in too fast, so yes, he might have been a bit clumsy. I'm not saying necessarily it was a wrong decision, but there could have been discretion taken at that point in the game, in my opinion. And I have asked a couple of referees. I've asked some that have said they would have given a red, but I've asked some referees as well, and they've said they wouldn't give it. For that type of challenge, they would not have given a red 44 seconds into the game. But it's not the reason we lost, and I want to make that clear, because people keep thinking that because I'm saying I don't think it was a red, that's the reason we lost the game. But I just think, for me, the question about was he going for the ball? I'm not being funny. It doesn't matter how young and clumsy you are going for the ball there. The players tucked it. The players brought the ball inside. If you look at his first touch, if Wakeland hadn't put his arms out, and I know he did, I know we were talking hypothetically, but if Wakeland didn't put his arms out, Wakeland has got in between the player and the ball, and it's gone through to Bryn. The reason it's a foul is because he's put his arm on his back, which I'm assuming is the reason. What would be really great is if I wouldn't have gone mad. And lads, you can tell me here in this chat, I said to you, I would not have gone mad if a Stockport player didn't get sent off for that.
Because that's the exact point I made, and you said I wouldn't have.
No, because, for example, people will say if somebody punched somebody on the pitch, they would send them off regardless of the time of the game. We're not talking about a punch. How many times do we get 30 minutes into a game and a full-on scrap breaks out and nobody gets booked? That happens loads. Yeah, scraps in the game by the letter of the law are sending offs. And it doesn't happen because the ref is there to imply the rules. Of course he is. But he's also there to control the game. And I think that sending off meant he lost control of the game. And we saw that all the way through after that. But it is what it is. As I said, I'm kind of bored of discussing it. I don't think it's necessarily the reason we lost the game, to be totally honest. But I just think that people need to stop trying to make it sound like all knowledgeable and saying he got sent off because he was the last man. There is a supplementary reason to the last man, which is why it got me thinking more. And I can't remember what sport it is, but there needs to be something in football that says why a player's been sent off. You know, like they put it up on Sky Sports or whatever. They might just say, I don't know, dodgy foul or whatever. But there needs to be something in sports that says what is the reason for that player being sent off. If he says because he pushed a player on the dogso rule, then fair enough. That's what he saw. But for me, is I think I see that happen so much in football, and that was the reason they brought in that rule, was because a penalty is a harsh enough offence, is a harsh enough sanction. So I'm sorry, but I'll argue it to the death, and it will fall on deaf ears. But I genuinely don't think it was a red card.
To be fair, mate, if anyone would know that I would talk to, it would be you. And this is why with a lot of things, and something that I say to Ben a lot, and I think I say to Craig a lot as well, is this is why we love football, because when me and Ben argue, one of us can quote stats that back up a point, and it doesn't mean anything. You can tell me the actual rules, and I will still tell you I disagree with it, and I think this because this reason. And this is why we love football, is because we can all watch the exact same thing and have a completely different opinion on it.
I want to mention Cossy's point there, because he makes a fair argument, because I think he's just
Is this the handball one?
If a player handballing on the line is a straight red offence. Last man challenge is not. And this is where the supplementary rule comes in. This is why it was introduced those many years ago, to say this double jeopardy rule. Now, people can say, and I'm not going to argue anymore with people that say it's not, but I just want people to be clear that just being the last man doesn't make it a red card. And arguably, and these obviously these refs don't have VAR, they don't have all of this shit. Arguably, he wasn't the last man, because if you look at Blake Tracy's positioning as well, the player's taken a touch inside. There is nothing to suggest that Blake Tracy couldn't have got over to that. But that being said, it was a clumsy challenge from Wakelin, so he gave the ref arguably no option. He gave the ref no option. But that being said, we're criticising Swindon fans for it. But if Wakelin's not sprinted back there, we're all of a sudden criticising Wakelin. My question is why is the left wing forward having to chase back to that when Blake Tracy's not doing anything, and that guy's just pretty much cruised through 34 seconds into the game, has just cruised through the middle of the park.
So there was two supplementary. Yeah, no, you're completely right. And there's two supplementary things about the penalty award that I wanted to ask, and you've touched on it there perfectly. So on the one side is exactly that point. If Wakelin isn't charging back, Swindon fans are criticising a lack of effort, intensity, a lack of fight desire, all those traits, because he's not tracking back. And I think you've already summed that one up perfectly. Nick, let me ask you on the other side. We've mentioned in the build-up to it, I mean, one, the way possession handed over and letting them attack. How do we get into a position... And yes, there's a slip and a fall over, which, as Ben will rightly say, can't be helped. These things happen. How do we get in a position where 37 seconds in the game, they've got a player so free in the penalty area that our forward, who's playing out wide, is having to charge back to make that challenge because there is no defenders there to stop it in 37 seconds?
I don't know, really, Fifey. I think we seem to all get dragged over to one side, which then left a massive gap. And when I think it's Tomlinson slipped, that gave him the time then to play that ball across, because there was just acres of space there. Obviously, the slip didn't help. That's just one of those things that happens. But he was trying to get across because, for whatever reason, we all seem to be across on our right-hand side. So whether it was... the setup, there was no control with the defensive pairing to see what was going on, and it was poor play from defensively from that point of view that gave them the opportunity. So you can probably point the finger at a number of players that were as responsible for what happened as much as Wakelin.
Okay, so we've covered the penalty itself. Ben, let's bring in the next positive. It was saved, and saved well. I mean,
Yeah.
I said afterwards, after I'd seen a couple of replays of it, I thought it was a poorly taken penalty, but that doesn't take anything away from Bryn, who saved it and saved it very well.
Well, it was weak, wasn't it? So Bryn's got a 50% chance of saving it. If he dives the right way, he saves it. I think that what's his name, the striker? Paddy
Madden?
Madden, that's it. I think he tries to give him the eyes and tries to put it in the other corner, and Bryn wasn't having it, and he waited until he actually kicked the ball before he dived, and he just got there because it was like a pass back. It was really weak, actually. It was a poor penalty. But yeah, I wasn't complaining because that just gave us a bit of a lifeline, because we could have been buried. If we went one down after 30 seconds and with 10 men, which means we would have to come at them a little bit more and we'd have to take a little bit more of a risk. I think they could have sniffed blood and could have buried us. So that kept us in the game and it gave us something to play for. But yeah, Bryn had a very good game, by the way. He caught all the crosses, everything that another positive, everything that we've been criticising him for, apart from his distribution, but everything we've been criticising him for, he'd been really, really good at. He was quite dominant in the box. He came for the crosses. When he came for the crosses, he got them. He caught all the crosses and everything that was required out of them. Yet the goal wasn't his fault at all. No. So he had a good game.
At risk of paraphrasing, he did his job.
He did his job. Yeah, as Roy Keane would say, he did his job, but he did his job really well.
Well,
really
apparently he has made his way into the team of the week.
Yeah,
I noticed.
I'm sure there's other keepers that were busier than him, to be honest. But I honestly think those team of the weeks, they've just gone, well, Swindon only lost 1-0 with 10
He saved a penalty. He can go.
He must have had a good game. Yeah, he saved a penalty. He must have had a good game, so we'll stick him in there. I don't think they actually properly analyse it when he gets to League Two. I think they just guess. Okay.
It wasn't too long after, Gary, that we were screaming for a penalty.
Yeah, this is Hepburn Murphy, wasn't it?
Hepburn Murphy, correct.
Yeah. It looked like there was contact. He obviously, the ref wasn't going to give it, and then booked him.
Let's do the same straw poll. Do you think it was a penalty?
Too far away. I was the opposite side of the ground. I couldn't see it. I generally couldn't see where there's contact.
Have you seen the replay since?
Yeah, but again, the angle's not great. You could argue there was contact there. I don't know. Difficult one.
Okay, Ben, penalty?
I think the only person that definitely knows are Hussey and Hepburn Murphy. The one thing that does make me think it's a penalty, when Hepburn Murphy skips past Hussey, he's still in full control of the ball. So what's he diving for? Because the ball's right in front of him and he's just got the keeper to beat. He's just got to open his body and place it in. So what's he diving for if it's a dive? Because he's through. So that makes me think it's a penalty. But we're not going to... There's no angle that makes it clear cut. No angle that makes it clear cut. So if he's dived, he's a stupid boy because he's through. What's he doing? Because he's not going nowhere. The ball's not going out of play. No one's catching him. He's just got the keeper to beat. So common sense says he's been tripped, but there's no visible evidence of that actual trip. At the time, I thought it was a penalty, but then I was charged up and I was a bit moody because we had a penalty against us and a red card. So that might have judged my judgment at the time. But I think because where the ball is and where Hepburn Murphy is and where that he would have got a shot in makes me think it was a pen.
So, Woody, I'll come to you next. And based on Hank's comment, I think, again, if we're thinking back to the conversations we had about this sort of on the day, I said initially, I don't think it's a pen. It's very difficult to tell. And then it was Sunday morning when I watched the highlights on YouTube, I said, it probably is a pen. It's not as much a pen as theirs was. And I can see why it wasn't given. But this thing, and I'm guilty of this. I say, yeah, it's a soft pen or it's less of a pen or they've gone down easy. Surely a pen's a pen.
If you haven't won the ball, it's a pen. That's the rule. We've just spoken about rules of why Wakeland should be sent off. Hussey's put his out. I mean, Nick and I were looking at that angle that Hussey was running at. And I don't know if Nick saw it, but there's an arm gone into his back. going down easily is not against the rules. That doesn't matter whether you go down easily. Like diving and simulation is the bookable offence. As Ben said, there was no reason for Hepburn Murphy to go down there. If there was contact and Hepburn Murphy's gone down, there was contact from behind. There was a contact from behind him because nobody was by the side of him. So I don't know. Like, I think from my point of view, we keep talking about the rule book on the Wakeland foul, but you play by the rule book or you don't play by the rule book. And by the rule book, a hand has gone into the back of Hepburn Murphy from the angle I saw as well. If it didn't, I'll hold my hands up. But there's no, as you said, Fife, there's no true camera image that shows whether it did or not. But I just don't see why he would have dived in that situation. And there were I think there were actually two players behind him at that point. So either of them could have caught him. And the ball didn't change direction. Hussey's not wrong the ball. So in some ways, maybe fair play to ref. He's very confident that the guy's dived, but it's a penalty for me. But then again, like I say, that decisions like that and decisions that happen way through the game, and the fact of the history of this ref just made me question whether he's a competent referee at all, to be totally honest. So I don't know. I don't think he really knew what he was doing.
I think the liner could help the referee out there. The linesmen are supposed to be assistant referees. The linesman's probably got.
He did not use that lino. Really,
there is a push. The linesman should be waving and saying, "Look, there's contact there, ref."
But if you look, the lino was bloody useless when it came to that kick in the back on Clayton. Was it Clayton?
Well, it was
on Clayton. There was 3 kicks in the back I counted on that one when the ball was in his stomach, if you like. So that lino was probably just as useless as the ref, in my opinion. But yeah, for me, it's a penalty. He's got no reason to dive there. We had players in the box. So yeah, but I think, and this is genuinely what I believe, if they had scored the penalty, we've been given that penalty.
Okay.
I think because they didn't score the penalty, psychologically in that ref, whether it's subconsciously or not, he's not given that penalty. Because he might think it's a soft, but we know, you just said it, Fifey, a soft penalty is still a penalty. Doesn't matter how soft it is. If there's been a challenge where they haven't won the ball, where arguably the ball was further away from them than Wakeland's was, but it's not a dive. There's no need to dive there. You can see on the slow motion replay, Hussey, there is a hand that goes in. You just can't quite work out if it's touched Hepburn Murphy or not. So for me, it's a pen.
Nick?
Yeah, at the time, obviously, we were screaming for a penalty. As people have said, we're quite a distance away. You can't always see stuff clearly. And at that stage, we were very biased to what was going on, as we always are as Swindon fans. Having looked at it, it's probably one of those that you'll say it's a 50-50. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. It looked like more of probably a coming together. I don't think he dived. I think the booking was totally unnecessary. But I suppose once the refs made that decision, he's got to justify it by saying, well, he didn't get touched, so he must have dived, therefore I've got to book him. So I'm guessing that's the logic of that. So I don't want to say I'm sitting on the fence, but as I say, it's one of those. It was probably a 50-50. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't, and we didn't get it that time.
Okay, and sticking with you then, Nick, we play the next best part of 48, 49 minutes with 10 men leading up to half time. Your overall impression of the first half after all that happened?
I thought we managed the game really well. For that 45 minutes, you could see what Morris wanted. He wanted to keep it tight, not concede, stay in the game. We had a bit of the shithousery of what's the reserve keeper's name, going round and having a chat with Bryn, who then went down injured, and then Morris was able to have all his players over and give him a talk on what he wanted. So yeah, for me, and for quite a while, we stayed 4-3-2. We stayed with 2 up front, and obviously we wanted to keep it defensively sound. But yeah, I thought probably that 45 minutes, probably our game management was one of the better ones it's been all season. So from that point of view, the players and the manager tactically got it right.
Okay, Cozzy's made a point here, and I kind of want to save it because I'm sure Woody in particular has had a lot to say about the referee. But so I don't lose the comment, I'll flash it up now. And Gary, I'll come to you on this one. Gents, can I please make a valid point? For about 5 years now, we've been blaming refs and linesmen every time we lose a game at the county ground. If we actually played better and won games, we would forget. I'm guessing that means in terms of their poor performances. It is a fair point, isn't it?
I think we're the same as every other fan up and down the country. I know Liam's the same as the Swindon fans. You always want someone to blame rather than your own team. I think we've been quite damning of our team this season. I think they've been quite critical on the way we've played. I think there's times where it is League Two, so the referees do make mistakes because if they were any better, they would be playing higher at a higher level. There's probably a little bit of that, and there's a little bit of like, well, if we got this, the game would have been different. But I don't think we're any more worse than any other team up and down the country, any other fan base anyway.
Gary?
Yeah, I completely agree with Ben. I think we will have a go at linesmen. We'll blame anyone if we're losing. We're being hard done by, particularly at home. We're typical football fans. We'll blame anyone. Away fans, we'll blame away managers. We'll blame the weather, whatever we can blame on. But yeah, no, I think the referees have been pretty poor standard down in our league. What do we expect? I mean, it's no different for everyone else. We've all got to play with the same referees, so we just got to get on with it. But yeah,
I have seen your other comment, and I will be coming to that in a couple of minutes. Woody, we get to halftime, and then the news comes that Charlie Austin's coming off. I believe it was for Lavinia. Were you a bit surprised? I mean, obviously you featured in the Hat Report and said what you were hoping to see from him in the second half, and he didn't come out for the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those where I think it was Mark that pointed it out first, but it was one of those where I thought, right, we really need Charlie Austin for this second half. We need somebody who's got the experience, who's going to really drag the team through, and who is going to be that person. Because let's face it, we were never going to win that game 3 or 4-0 if we were going to win it. We were going to win it by nicking something. We might have actually got a shot away on goal if Charlie Austin had played as well. But
let's not jump ahead of a question, Woody.
But the thing is I kind of understood why he decided to bring Lavinia on to put Hepburn Murphy up top on his own. But interestingly, despite all the arguments about it, Leah made a very good point. We had just had a forward sent off, and then we brought off another forward. Like that does scream a little bit that we're not trying to win this game. We're trying to, see out a draw. Now it would have worked because we would have had the win behind us. So the idea of it, I assume, based on some of the ball that was played, is that we were trying to get the ball through to Hepburn Murphy to go through on goal. Now, Hepburn Murphy's getting better as he's wearing his Swindon shirt more often.
Yeah.
But he isn't that striker we can rely on to be. Even if he was through on goal, I don't think he would have scored most of the opportunities. But equally,
just on that one, if I can jump in quickly, do you think he would have scored the Austin one if he had that chance?
Yes. Completely. You mean the end of the first half?
Yeah. I think possibly yes. I think Austin would have finished it if he didn't have his moment of madness where he was too busy focusing on where the centre back was. He lost a split half a second by looking over his shoulder, trying to go shoulder to shoulder with the centre back. Trying to go shoulder to shoulder with the centre back instead of the ball's gone down the right hand side of him. It's only the left side centre back. Austin doesn't matter how quick he is. I mean, he ain't going to be that much slower than the League Two centre back. Let's put it that way. Okay, and he's winning that. But the problem is he's gone like that. He's turned his whole body. He's tried to turn it into a shoulder. Meanwhile, the ball's trickled past him. The moment he's turned around like that, he's instantly weak. So I think I was just really surprised at Austin on that moment for a guy who I admire as a striker. As you guys know, I've always admired him. I think he is. But he's liable to a mistake like anybody else is. So it's, but yeah, I can't comment whether Hepburn Murphy would have scored it. I don't know if Hepburn Murphy would have had the gut and guile to get there into that centre of the park and and things like that, because Charlie Austin was very much kind of playing that central role when we went down to 10. But yeah, it was a strange one. I could see maybe why he did it. I think Morris could probably own up, to be honest, and say that was a mistake. I don't know how Charlie reacted because I don't think he came back out either. So I just think that the worrying thing it was going to be with him staying on is it might have turned into a bit of Charlie would have tried to do the stuff that everybody else was doing. That's what my biggest fear of him staying on was, because we've criticised him of doing that with 11 men. I think our best bet would have been to keep him on, especially for, at least the 75, 80 minutes of the game, to just see if we can get the ball to his feet so he can create something on his own. And he could hold the ball up to bring Hepburn Murphy into play, to bring Lavinier into play, and even McEachran to a certain extent. So I do think I think Morris does need to be looked at on that one. But equally, maybe I can kind of see why he's made that sub. I just think it might have been the wrong player.
Okay. Here's where I potentially make myself quite unpopular. And the reason for it is I will give full appreciation for effort, workmanship, etc. All the fundamental character traits that made the performance, particularly from a defensive side, look good. 10 men against decent opposition, restricting them to what seemed like very little. But here's my counter argument. We've gone down to 10 men in less than a minute. And I believe Ben's told me that there were 97 minutes played in the game. Yeah, something like that. So we've played 10 men with 96 minutes. We've had, at home, 0 attempts on goal. Now, I don't care whether you've got 11 men, 10 men, 9 men, 0 attempts. That's not on target. That is 0 attempts on goal. For me, completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. The follow-up point, it doesn't matter how good you look defensively. When you have an attacking set piece, to concede from that situation is very poor game management. And I think Cosy mentioned game management in one of the earlier comments. Here it is. This is what I was waiting to flash up. To concede from our own attacking set piece is piss poor. And I know, Ben, you'll come at me with tiring legs, etc., etc. The third follow-up point, and I will let you all have your say on this. The third follow-on point is if I say Morris has done potentially the right thing up to this point, because, again, decent side are being restricted to very little. When we do go 1-0 down, I expect nothing less than throw the kitchen sink at it, because at that point, you may as well lose 2 or 3-0 and try and equalise than lose 1-0 not trying to equalise. Now, earlier in the game, I was commenting in our WhatsApp chat that from what I was seeing, hearing, reading, because I wasn't there, and this is why I like to ask you guys these questions, because potentially I'm being harsh. I think at times we looked like we were getting ourselves in good positions. I agree, Hepburn Murphy looked like he was getting in good positions. There was one in particular, and it's like the Charlie Austin one. I still say our decision-making at times is nonsensical and very poor. We make the wrong decision a lot. But I don't think, in my opinion only, that anyone who comes away and says we've tried to get anything out of that game can say that we've tried our very best to get anything out of that game. We might have been, as Woody suggested, the substitution suggests we were playing for a draw. And like Ben's been telling me since, we might have tried to shithouse a win. Fine. But to win a game, you do need to shoot. And we did not do that. And when you're losing, there is no difference in losing 1-0 to 2-0. To 3-0 even. Because at this point, goal difference doesn't even matter. If people are still realistically saying mathematically we can make the playoffs, we cannot mathematically make the playoffs losing 1-0 or 3-0. It doesn't matter. You throw the kitchen sink at it. And for me, that didn't happen. And there's no excuse for that. Even if you try and come with tiring legs playing so long with 10 minutes. These are professional athletes who have trained for years for just such an occasion. For anyone who says to me, you can't plan to play that long with 10 men. Yes, you can. you plan to play with 10 men, whether it's 10 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes. There's no way anyone can tell me Swindon are not doing 11v10 drills. They know how to play with 10 men. And if nothing else, we've had enough goddamn experience of playing with 10 men this season. So there's absolutely no excuse. I will give credit where it's due for the effort in what it took to put the display out there. But I cannot accept having 0 shots at all. Again, not on target, 0 shots at all at home, regardless of having 10 men or not. And that is why I was particularly disappointed at the end. And I'm missing a load of comments, so I will let Gary, I'll let you take over your say on that side of things while I catch up with some of these comments here.
The first thing I got, the thing we'll say, I think Stockport were bang average, if I'm honest. I don't think they were great. For a team that they were, I think even their fans said they weren't great at all. But when you go on in the second half and we game managed the first half to get to 0-0 and everything, great. The wind's behind us. Let's bring on Darcy. Let's have some pop shots and range. See what happens. Goes in off the keeper, hits a defender, whatever. You have a chance then to at least get a goal. 2 fly in the top corner. Who knows? We win 2-1. There's no excuse for having not a single shot. Long range, set for a corner, do something. And I'll argue that this sort of game where we were down to 10 men, there's one player which should have been on the bench, who could have changed the game, was Adeloy. Because he might have been that presence up top to go, do you know what? I'll rough him up around a bit and we'll change the game. Where Jeff Gott just came on and did exactly the same as what Austin was doing.
Just going back to the earlier point you made, Woody, we've had a tweet in from Jason to say Chaz was pretty pissed off for being substituted at halftime. So that we've had that tweet come in.
He probably was. He probably looked at it and go, like, you don't even need to sound arrogant as Charlie Austin. I'm a fucking former Premier League player. I know how we can pull us through this, and he's taken them off. But if it does anything else, it shows that Jody Morris might have balls. They might have been clueless balls at that point, but it shows that he's got balls. He's not afraid to take players off, despite their profile.
Well, Woody, as you are in, do you want to take over all the points I made and maybe pick holes in where I'm being a tad harsh?
No, I mean, like I said, to be totally honest, as I said in the WhatsApp chat after the game, I didn't even realise. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the stats now. I actually didn't realise we didn't have a shot until I saw those stats. I thought we did okay going forward. We did look like a 10 versus 11, but we didn't get a shot away, so we did worse than I thought we did at the end of the day. Defensively, yes, we were okay, but I mean, in some ways, fair play to Blake Tracy. He's come out after the game and said, "You know what, lads, that was me." Fair fucks to Tracy. Yeah. He's taken blame for that. Although he shouldn't take blame for everything, because we still had 7 players back in time by the time Stockport had broke through. So there was still free man advantage even then. On those tired legs, we still managed to get 7 players back.
Yep.
But yeah, not having a shot at home is shocking anyway. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you've got 9 men. It's not good enough. Because in the first half, I could probably say, yeah, the wind was against us. We didn't have a shot. Fair enough. I could hold that up. But, we're just trying to bide it out until half time. But in the second half, when we set up to push the ball forward, by the look of it, we set up to push the ball forward, and we didn't push the ball forward enough to put it, or we played the ball way too long. We played a long ball rather than a continental long ball. And it's so yeah, it's just shocking, isn't it? I mean, I'm still, Gary makes a good point about kind of Adeloy. I still don't massively rate Adeloy, but I don't rate Jeff Cott either. I thought he brought fuck all when he came on. I think when we went 1-0 down, I don't understand why Kane didn't come on. I know Kane's a bit out of form.
He's average.
Yeah, but he's also, he's that type of player. I don't rate him, but he does have a set piece. If Kane's taken that free kick, for example, it's
going in the penalty box.
Yeah, it's going in the penalty box for Austin to. Oh no, not Austin Turner. But it's so yeah, it's it's just fucking frustrating because the problem is we were gearing up to this because we don't have enough shots in general. We can't say there wasn't opportunities to have shots in that game because there definitely was. But as I can't remember who said it, it might have been Gary or Nick, I can't remember, but it's when you're in situations like that, especially when you're 1-0 down, that last 10 minutes, we are pummeling their box. We are pushing every fucking player forward to try and get even an equaliser. Because as you said, goal difference doesn't matter at this stage anymore because there is no way that we're going to beat anybody on goal difference at the moment. So, and that doesn't matter if we don't get the 3 points anyway. So it's just kind of, yeah. I mean, look, we're 7 goals behind Bradford. So and
crucially 10 points.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what's the point of worrying about not conceding 2 goals when we're not going to win the fucking game in the first place? So, goal difference makes 4 points. It never makes 1. So it's kind of, I just think it is frustrating thinking about it. And I'll hold my hands up. I didn't notice it during the game that I didn't notice that we didn't have any shots. But when I think back reflectively, I don't remember it. I don't remember them having 13 shots. I think we limited them quite well to long shots. And I think minus that free kick, defensively we were right. But unfortunately, we need to win games at home. We need to be shooting at home. We need to be attacking at home. And we just didn't do it. And I would feel more comfortable if Morris came out in his post match and said, "Yeah, we defended well, but our attacking was shocking." And he didn't really say that. He just said, "Oh, I think we did." He basically said, "I think we did all right against considering we had 10 men." The other thing I will say on that is Stockport didn't use the man advantage really that well. They did not use. Yes, there is a little bit of extra fitness you've got to do when you're playing 10 against 11, but they were still sticking 2 men back when we had nobody up.
Do you think that's testament to how well Hepburn Murphy was working, though? Because he worked really hard.
It may be testament, but it doesn't mean that doesn't give us an excuse to say we were really, really tired because we were playing 10 against 11. It's I genuinely don't think it was tiredness. I just think defensively we weren't fucking good enough to stop that goal from going out, and we didn't score. It's not like we went down to 8 or 9 players. We still had enough players on the pitch to create opportunities, and we didn't create enough opportunities. We took off our one player. There's 2 players in my opinion, maybe 3 if you count Johnny Williams, who had a bit of an off game. But there's 3 players in my opinion that will create chances themselves: Wakelin, Austin, and Williams. Wakelin didn't, obviously, because he was off after 44 seconds, and Austin got taken off at 45 minutes, which, bizarre to me, given even more I think about it. You're taking the captain off when we really need somebody to take us through the game.
That's the comment I just flashed up from Cozzy as well.
Yeah, it's just like when we really need to get something from this game, because this game, regardless of playing 10 against 11, yeah, I agree with that as well, because he's put there. When we're playing 10 against 11, regardless of we needed to win that game. A draw was never good enough. A draw was not good enough. A loss was definitely not good enough. But we needed to win that game. So I would have much rather us still just carry on trying to shut the kitchen sink, if you like, especially when we were 1-0 down. There was 17 minutes after they scored, was it? Because I think it was roughly about 7 minutes. It should have been 5, but I think injury time went on for about 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There was kind of 17 minutes where we should have really, really hit the attack. And we talk about all these creative players we supposedly have, and we weren't fucking creating anything. So yeah, it's that for me. Again, I'll give them kudos. They tried. They did try. But trying's not good enough. We're not good enough. Before that, we put in that maximum effort, so to speak, and we still didn't get the result. So that is what's told me we're not good enough to get into the playoffs.
To quantify what I was trying to get at when I was saying my bit about not being good enough, and it links into a comment that I've just seen. We gave Grimsby credit for trying, and they did. They got hammered when they tried against us.
Should have been 8.
Right. It should have been 8. It wasn't. Whatever. We can speculate all we like about that. But there is a fine balance between going all out like Grimsby did and doing nothing like Swindon did. There is something in the middle that you can do, because we've all supported football and we've all watched football generally enough to see 10 can beat 11, not even just scrape a draw, 10 can beat 11. And that's the frustration, is that for me, we didn't seem to even attempt it. Nick, let me come to you, and I want to start you off, if I may, with a comment from Hank, because it's something both Woody and I have mentioned. He's put here, we had some set pieces which we didn't even capitalise on. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about the free kick we conceded from in a minute, but it did just make me remember, and I remember one of the first messages I sent in our group on Sunday morning is, I still can't get over how bad that Hutton free kick was in the first half.
Yeah, that was awful.
How bad his free kicks are in general.
Yeah.
Is my view.
Yeah. I mean, the way we had a chance of winning that game was from set pieces. And if you're down, if you're down to 10 men, I agree with what you said, Woody. I mean, we've won this season with having players sent off, so we know it's possible, and other teams have done it, and we've held out with 10 men. But one of the main ways is a set piece, and most of the season, and I don't even know, I think we might have only had one or maybe two. Our corners have been abysmal. We never score from a corner.
No.
The free kicks, I mean, that Hutton one, I mean, that was under 11 standard. Just right bang on half time. That ball, you've got to get that pinged right into the danger area to give us half a chance. So yeah, free kicks were absolutely terrible. And what you said there, Fifey, I think I pretty much agree with most of what you said there. Yeah, the last 10, 12, 15 minutes, whatever, yeah, we should have been down their throat and just bombing balls into the box, because, like you said, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, doesn't matter. So from that point of view, that was poor. I just want to come back on a point that Cozzy made. I think it's the one I said we had good game management, and his comment back on that. I said we had good game management for the first half, which kept us in the game and kept it at 0-0. Which is what I said. I didn't talk about the whole 90 minutes. So from that point of view, we're okay. I don't know whether you want to come on to it now. I see there's some comments about there being a bit of a bust up after the game.
Yeah, I was going to flash that one up next. Yeah, so we got... I think FBT did actually mention this in his post-match, because he was saying he'd be more concerned if there weren't arguments, shouting, pushing and shoving in the changing room after. But yeah, there's two that I've seen. I just need to scroll back up. Steve was the first one. He said, what's with rumours of post-match dressing room bust up? And Brandley, I've not heard about Brandley.
No, I haven't heard anything about that. But yeah, and it sounds like it was Blake Tracy and Hutton that had the bust up, because he said that by the end of the whatever happened in the change room, they shook hands and it was fine. I mean, I got no problem with that, and no. I think that happens all the time, and so it should. Between the pair of them, they messed that free kick up. I mean, Stockport were lucky with the clearance that was made. It was just looked like it was mishit, and then went straight on their left wing, and a guy had acres of space. In fair play, they took full advantage. Great break, great ball in. The bloke got on the end of it. So. Yeah, we had a number of defenders in the penalty area that could have done better but didn't. But yeah, why the hell Blake Tracy was there taking that free kick in the first place? He should have been in the box, and Hutton or whoever should have been then planting that box bang on the penalty area. So that was a balls. And again, people are sort of looking at Morris in that, but. It's not Morris who's done that. It's the players have made those decisions on the pitch. So, I'm afraid they've got to take the main responsibility. And I think it's what you said, Fifey Wood has said. Some of our players, unfortunately, aren't good enough, and it's coming to bite us now. It's really as simple as that. So that's where the problem lies, and we all know it stems back to January time.
Let's take a minute then to discuss what turned out to be the winning goal. Ben, you've been waiting the longest now to come back in. perhaps I was being harsh to say it's unacceptable to concede from our own attacking free kick. However, the point that is being made and has been made to me is that was our best chance of winning was from set pieces. So to lose it from our own set piece is unfathomable, really.
No, I actually don't think you're being too harsh at all. There's 3 main points that were the issue with that. First is, obviously, the free kick was terrible. It was poor. The second of it, because Hutton had moved from right to left to take the free kick, obviously he wants an in-swinging free kick. Lavigne hadn't gone out wide to the right to cover for Hutton. If he does that, that breaks down. And the last thing, which is really harsh, I suspect, because we are trying to win the game, there was no one sweeping up at half time just to stop anything like a break coming. You can come and just clout him. If anything.
Sorry, Ben. I'm not laughing at you, but I totally misread that comment, and I thought somebody was saying that we constantly rely on bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes.
They did.
They put BLT.
BLT, yeah.
Rely on BLT.
I totally misread
You
that.
haven't because look, now we got the follow-up look. A BLT would be more use.
But
oh, brilliant.
Yeah, no, yeah. So like, if Lavigne pushed out wide onto the right, then that he doesn't break because that move stops. In fact, Lavigne picks it up and we can bang it back into the box. If we got some sweeping, which is harsh because we're trying to win the game, so that spare man is pushed up into the box waiting for a free kick. But because they're all up there waiting for a free kick, they've all got to bust their gut to get back in the box, and they did actually quite well to get as many bodies as we did. When the cross came in, it's just they were the first one to it, and it was a good ball in. But yeah, it's infuriating because, after 60, 65 minutes, I turn to Jack and go, we're going to win this 1-0. Whether it's going to be their keeper punching it into his own goal, whether it's going to be a misplaced cross that loops over the goal, or it's going to be a deflected shot, we're going to shithouse this because
it certainly wasn't going to be a deflected shot.
Yeah, because there is absolutely no chance. They are not breaking us down today. They did not look like scoring whatsoever. They've had a couple of headers that whisper on, but they had 2 corners all game, and the keepers made 4 stops in all match, and one of them's a penalty. So
2 corners.
5 shots on target. One of them's a penalty. One's a goal. So Bryn's made 3 other saves, and if I remember rightly, they're all straight at him. So we, as a defensive unit, like FBT was absolutely outstanding. Brewitt was absolutely outstanding. They worked really hard off the ball, which makes it understandable why they were so deflated when the ball did go in, because obviously they got to pick themselves up. But FBT's been taken off. Austin's been taken off. All our leaders have been taken off. He tries to build it up, but and makes 3 subs, but there's no one there. I don't know what men's team's about, but no, there's no one there. I don't think there's any left in the tank to give it. They won. Stockport weren't actually, they won so easily. We didn't even bother them at the end of the game. It was, I think we tried to do something, but we just had nothing in the tank, which is a shame. So that it is what it is. But it's a game that we should have. I'd like to have seen us push on as the game went on after 75 minutes, start to be a little bit more adventurous, which didn't happen. But I think up until that point, our tactics have been spot on. I think Stockport were getting into silly little niggles. I saw them getting frustrated. I saw them doing some stupid things themselves that the ref did not penalise them for. And they looked like a team that were getting really pissed off that they should be doing better. Their fans were silent. It was set up for a shithouse. If the ball was in the other court and it was Swindon Town trying to not break down 10 men, we're all saying we're going to lose this. We're all going to lose this. And I reckon that was going through the Stockport fans' heads at that time, is we're going to nick this with our only shot. But it didn't work out like that. So it's a shame.
Unfortunately, it did not. I just had that comment up, Gary. I don't know if you were reading it from Toby, and it's an interesting one. We've kind of skirted around the topic a few times in recent episodes. I'll flash it up again just in case, because it is interesting. I think Jody is extremely fortunate at the moment. Supporters are still behind him. Most managers take over an inherited squad and are expected to improve things.
Well, you certainly think he can expect to come in and manage them and coach them properly. we had this conversation the week, didn't we? We said he's going to get time. I think he's going to, fans are going to give him a bit of a benefit of the doubt. He hasn't had a chance to sign his own players. He was given a terrible January transfer window. He came in late. So I think he will get started next season. He will hopefully get a better transfer window, his own players, his own squad. The problem for that, then, the pressure next season will build hugely on him from the start. If results don't go straight away, and I'm not saying we win the first 5 or 6, but if we lose 6, 7 games, or the result, we're not up the top end of the table, and look like we're making improvements, then there will be huge pressure on him.
Well, from what I've seen online, the expectation is playoffs isn't even acceptable after this year. It is win the title or nothing. Seems to be the expectation.
I'll take top 3. I'll take top 3. I don't care. Get out of this league. I don't want that title.
I'll follow that on if I can, Gary, with a question that I asked Ben earlier. If everything is exactly the same as it is now, the only difference is we don't appoint Morris and we still have Lindsay. Are fans being just as generous with giving all the excuses of no defenders, players being sent off, etc., or are they on Lindsay's back for this form?
Yeah, tough one. I think Lindsay. I think it was his time to go when he went. I think the excuses could have been there regardless. He had the same injuries. He had the same. We all get players injured. There's no excuse for that. It's part of football management. You have to deal with that. He's doing it Crawley all of a sudden. He's starting to get results. But would that have been the same here? Who knows?
It's all hypothetical, of course.
It is. And I felt like it was time for him to go. I think we all sort of agreed it was. But would we have been doing any better? But put it this way, is Jody Morris doing any better? There's the question. Since he's come in, has he done any better?
No.
I argue probably not.
No.
Fifey, I'll come in and make a point on that.
Yeah, go on.
Looking at Lindsay's last 6 games.
As in his last 6 or his last 6 at Swindon?
Sorry, his last 6 at Swindon.
Okay.
He won 2, drawn 1, lost 3. Right.
Okay.
Not brilliant. Not average, I guess. But in those 6 games, he had Andelo, Reed, Gladwin, and McDonald playing.
Okay.
Now, everybody says shouldn't have got rid of them. We didn't replace them. So they are, by lots of people's opinions, were our better players. So we've lost those better players, haven't replaced them. Mm-hmm. So Jody Morris is inherited a weaker squad that he's having to deal with to get them playing how he wants them to play. Fair enough. That doesn't mean to say we can't criticise Morris. And yes, we would expect it to be in a better position with Morris in place. But there are, reasons for that with what happened or what didn't happen in January. And I think that is, and we talked about it so much this season, that's a key factor. So he's been dealt a poor hand through no fault of his own. Yes, he should know what he was coming into. But to me, there is a big difference with what Lindsay had and produced average to what Morris has got and is producing below average, unfortunately.
I'm inclined to agree with you about 98%, Nick. I think everything you've said there is factually accurate. What is interesting, and I don't think I'm incorrect in saying this, I might be slightly paraphrasing, the players you mentioned, McDonald's obviously more of a miss than people realised. I think that's very clear. We were having the discussion about Gladwin just earlier today. And the quote from Afel was that he would still happily drive into Crawley, which I'm still saying, and again, I'm probably judging him too early. I don't rate Kane, and I think Gladwin is 100 times the player Kane is. And if you offered me the chance now of a straight trade I am 100% taking it. And I understand the criticisms of Gladwin, but I still feel, and I can't see any imminent change in my approach that he is a better player than anyone we brought in to replace him. Now, yes, again, the point on Reed is a good one. Everyone argued he wasn't as good as he was last season. So how much of a loss is he really? And who was the other player? Iandolo, who's injured at the minute, so we can't play him. So that's neither here nor there. We are missing the experience. I understand we're very much missing the experience, and we all know we're missing the experience, and that's a major fault in the policy of the club. But the one thing that was quoted multiple times is the one thing Lindsay was missing. The one thing he was missing is a striker. You cannot say Morris hasn't got that striker.
No.
And to create nothing for that striker,
exactly,
is a fault.
That's the problem, Fifey. We aren't creating anything for that striker. And if you had the likes of, and we know he was a hit and miss season, probably Iandolo and Reed, they weren't at their best to what they've previously been, but they were players that could create chances. And then obviously Gladwin as well. Yeah, I was always a fan of Gladwin's, and I had many arguments with my son who didn't rate him, and I did rate him, and it's all about opinions. But that's what we've lost 100%. In that midfield area. We've got lots of midfielders, but as lots of people will tell you, they're all the same. And it's tippy tap football in and around the halfway line, and nobody creating anything. And on that, to me, the biggest disappointment since the World Cup has been Johnny Williams. He's been absolutely abysmal. So he's creating nothing. He's supposed to be one of our better players. So you could have any forward up there, and if they're not being given the chances, they're not going to score. And that's been the issue.
Sorry, I just see this comment at the same time from AC who said, I don't rate Kane, was a squad player for Newport. Don't rate Kadji. Fucking criminal transfer business from Sandro. These downgrades are on par with replacing Matt Smith with Christopher Missalou. So ultimately, the effort and the endeavour came to nothing, Woody. We know that. Apart from a bit of praise for said effort, endeavour and attitude. You've already kind of touched on it, but can we talk about FBT's post-match? There were a couple of interesting things that came out from it. We've already kind of mentioned that there was this bust-up in the changing room, and he commented on that. He again, you've already highlighted that he took responsibility for the way the goal was conceded, which, fine, fair enough, and respect him for doing so. The comment that's caught my eye, and it's something, again, that we and other podcast outlets and people within media, etc., have been talking about. He comments that he's somewhat frustrated because of the standard of quality within the league. I think his quote was, with the exception of Leyton Orient, he's not looking at anyone else and thinking they're superior to us.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a comment on the Lindsay versus Morris debate in a minute as well. But in terms of FBT I think you might always get that from a player who's dropped down from League One. I think he's I don't know. There is something I like about. I mean, he was stupid for the goal. You could look at that. He didn't help Wakeland's situation for the penalty, but.
And let's throw into that, there was that other incident where he could have quite easily given a penalty away, but no one seemed to notice it at the time.
Well, yeah. There was the moment where he turned into Edge and tried to
just spear the player,
spear the player down. But I don't know. I always say I do like a player who will come out and take responsibility and will look at the responsibility of the players. He very much was. A bit like, in some ways, the same way that Gladwin was after the Colchester game, But how many times do we have to sit there and hear players say, yeah, it's our fault, we hold our hands up type thing? Like, I'm sorry, but as much as I admire him for coming out, 7, what was it? I don't know how many games are left now, 9, 10 games or whatever, 10 games left. With 10 games left to go, I don't want to be hearing this anymore. I want to be hearing what we're fucking doing about it as a team. And so,
9.
9 games. And he said about the ruckuses in the change room. That happens all the time anyway. That happens regardless of. And as Nick said, I'm kind of glad that is happening. But what they never go into is what they're actually bickering or arguing about as well. Because you look at Hutton and FBT are there arguing with each other after the game about something that they were both involved with. Let's not forget that it wasn't FBT shouldn't be having to go at Hutton for doing this, and Hutton shouldn't be having to go at FBT. They were both involved with that free kick. They both had responsibility over that free kick. But he's saying what all the fans. I think some of it is he's saying what the fans want him to say. We know that the league isn't as good. I've always been a bit on the fence. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is, but at the same time, the only thing that matters is at the moment there are 10 teams better than us and however many worse than us. That's the only thing. It doesn't matter whether you play nicer football. Doesn't matter if you've got the best squad. The only stat that matters is how many teams are better than you and the wins column or even the points column. It's fair play for him to take it out. I do like him. I think he is a bit of a Rio Ferdinand, not Sean Taylor probably, but Rio Ferdinand wannabe, where kind of runs a little bit too much forward with the ball. But was he just trying to take a bit of ownership there? I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think the one thing it has done is potentially shown us, from what I saw, really how good Brewitt actually is. I'm actually really growing to Brewitt now. I think he is a traditional centre back, and I quite like that about him. And I think although I said FBT, in my opinion, and I know it's not everybody's opinion, was probably our better player on Saturday. I think Brewitt had a very good game as well. So I think hopefully, Brewitt, and I was the first to criticise us signing him. Hopefully he turns out to be a good signing. So, but it must be frustrating for a player like FBT, who's 27, and he has to lead just because of his age. So it's never easy. We were just talking about the women's earlier, doing all this media training and all this kind of stuff. Now, he's now got to come out, and you can see he's probably not comfortable. He's literally just what is going into his head.
If you think back to the sponsor game, and obviously he was up there, he didn't look particularly comfortable talking there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's that's true. But it is what it is. It
all makes sense when you think back, doesn't it? It's all great with hindsight.
Yeah. But on the, I haven't really got much else to say on that bit. But on the Lindsay Morris argument, and I mentioned this during January. Do I think the results would have been the same and would have been on the backs on their backs? The difference being, and I said this during January, the time it took to appoint Jodie Morris was a distraction from the transfer window. And a lot of people disagreed with me, but we can't deny that we didn't sign any players. Actually, we might have signed one player before Jodie Morris was appointed. And that had a big thing. So what Lindsay would have had he had stayed, we still don't know the full backstory about him leaving. But had Lindsay stayed, at least I would like to think that we would have made some transfers that he would have been aware of. The problem that Morris had was we spent, 15, 16 days trying to sort out whether we were going to have a manager or not after the official confirmation of Scott Lindsay leaving. And that's where we went wrong. And it goes down to one person. This season, in my opinion, will not be Lindsay, will not be Morris. It will be that one person. I'm not even going to say his name because we all know what his name is. Yeah. I feel like going all together now.
He shall not be mentioned.
I very, very much understand that point. And again, like I said to Nick, I kind of 98% agree with you. But for example, if we're talking solely about Saturday, regardless, he cannot be blamed for no shots on goal.
No, 100%. No. Yeah, exactly. I think at the end of the day, when the players cross that white line, it doesn't matter what they've been told. Every player goes into football to win games. And there's only one way you can win games. You can draw games by sticking a bus in front of goal, but there's only one way to win games, and that is to shoot on goal. And we didn't do it. And even with, and we're either not doing it or we're not creating it. And obviously, I had my little rant about that earlier. But yeah, I mean, it was a disastrous window, which has really ruined our season. And I think it's probably ruined Jody Morris. But then I said when we appointed him shortly after, as I said, I don't think he's the man that's going to get us out of this league this season. I think, yeah, give him a summer. And I think Cozzy made a fantastic point actually earlier around kind of what we kind of need. And I don't know whether he would have the balls to say it, but Halls would need to ask it anyway, is what control does Jody Morris have? You know, how many of these players are his players? We talk about the Austin thing, about him not being a Jody Morris player. Is there beef there because of ego clash or whatever? You know, regardless of how much we admire Austin, he's gone into this club knowing he's pretty much indispensable to this club, because we'd be breaking the bank for him, and he's a hero to all the fans. So instantly,
he's a wasted signing as well.
Yeah, and I've said all along, if we didn't go up, he's a wasted signing because I generally don't think he'll be here next season. But the so we got. I don't know. I've lost my trail of thought now, but yeah, it's So I think he's I don't. It points to one man for me. But yeah, it would be nice for Jody Morris to come out and actually tell us what his vision is for the future, what he's trying to do, what he's trying to implement. Is he trying to get it the same style as his Chelsea youth sides, which I don't have anything against because they were a very fucking successful side. And they've had players that have gone on to do very, very fucking good things. So it's but yeah, it points to one man. As we've all said already, we didn't replace what left. We already had gaps and we didn't fill those gaps. So it points to one man. If he comes out in the spring and says, I've given Jody Morris full control, and Jody Morris then does have a bad start to the season, I'll hold my hands up and say, do you know what, Jody Morris wasn't the right guy. And I'm sure a lot of us will. And you know, it's like, and that's a great point as well, by the way. It would be interesting as well to know how many of these stat-based players are actually that someone's gone out to watch them as well. Like how many of them, you know, because I genuinely believe, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a stats-based player who then we only judge when we've seen him train. You know, like training is a different element. Everybody performs their best at training. I want to see us like, yeah, okay, pick a player because of his stats, but get somebody, whether it's Les, whether it's another scout, get somebody out there to actually watch that fella play a game of football, to see how he reacts to mistakes, to see what his decision making is, to see how strong he is. A stat isn't going to tell you how strong he is. So yeah. Anyway, that's me done.
We've had a question sent in. We've had a question sent in by Toby, and I'm going to put it to all of you as the latest live straw poll. Ben, I'll start with you because it's quite an interesting one and not one that I was expecting to come up. Is FBT another one of those players who performs when they're on loan and their performances disappear once permanent?
No, because he was brilliant yesterday. He threw his head in places that shows that he's got no self-preservation whatsoever. He was throwing his head in the 6-yard boxes when feet were flying. He gave everything he got. No, disagree.
Okay. Gary?
No, I disagree as well. I don't think his performances have dropped. I think the injuries have hampered him this season more than anything else. But I think he'd be fit all season. We'd have seen pretty much the same performance week in, week out.
Okay. Nick?
Yeah, same. He gives his all, gives 100% plus. I've got no problem with Blake Tracy. I think he's a good permanent signing.
Woody?
Yeah, I think, I did say that I don't rate him as highly as the others rate him, but I think he's solid enough. Is there better out there? Yes, of course there is. I believe he was playing for a bit of an injury on Saturday as well. So, fair play to him on that. But yeah, we needed defenders, and we had a defender that we wouldn't need to educate. So it's or in bed, so to speak. So for me, he's done it. He hasn't been the reason we are where we are. So yeah, but
interesting. I am still slightly concerned that our main hope is playing a left back at centre back because he's, despite not being a centre back, he's our best centre back. It's still slightly Slightly
For me now,
conservative.
he can do both. I think for me, he's competent at both. He's better left back, but I think he's competent at both. I think if he's playing centre back, I've got no issue. And going back to what Cosy said, he made a few driving runs, and he was also quite frustrated where he was looking up and he's going like, "Come on, then, I need a runner. I need someone with me. I need someone to pass this," because he's in nosebleed territory. And I think there's once or twice he just went fuck it and went in himself. But
he is the most awkward runner of the ball, though.
Yeah, he's just like
he's like watching my 18-month-old run with the ball. It's just
he'll charge with it, and then he'll cut inside, and then he'll go, "What the fuck do I do now?" Because he's a nosebleed. He's either left hand side and he whips it in, or he's like a centre back. But he tried to do a few of those like charging midfield runs just to push everyone up. But they didn't. He's not a midfielder, is he?
Well, why not? He seems to do everything else.
Have we played Brewitt and Clayton together? We haven't we? Actually, we didn't play them. Yeah. I was just wondering because, like I say, I think Brewitt's gone under the wire a little bit. I'd like to see, obviously Clayton had a really bad game against Rochdale, but I think I wouldn't mind seeing kind of if we're playing four at the back, get Tomlinson back out, not Tomlinson, Blake Tracy back out on that left back and put some, whether it's Mino and Brewitt or Brewitt and Clayton, I wouldn't mind seeing them back there.
I did feel a little bit sorry for Tomlinson though, because he finally got his go at left back, a start at left back that he's not done yet, and then after 20 seconds, he's stopped being left back then, isn't he? He was pushed more central. As we tried to go three for a while, didn't we? But he never really got a spell, and then he went right back. So I do feel sorry for him a little bit. But I'd like to see FBT. His best position is left back, but we've got two really good ones in Tomlinson and FBT, so we're all right there.
Don't forget Devine.
And Devine. He does exist. He played really well against Lane Orient and then got injured. If
What's a Devine?
Get him right, then we've got embarrassment of riches at left back.
Yes, we are well stacked, yet none of them are ever fit enough to actually have a run of games. Before we go on to the final topic for tonight, does anyone have anything else they want to add into the analysis or debate of Saturday?
I just at the end of the game, the full-time whistle, it was actually quite nice because it's not nice because our season ended and it was rubber stuck with red marker Ben failure, but it was quite nice to see the reaction of the Swindon fans towards the players for the effort, and they actually got a standing ovation. And I know you shouldn't clap to feet, but they did give everything, and there was a little bit, and Morris mentioned that at full time as well. It was appreciated that the fans, and they sung throughout as well. We actually got behind them. Half the songs were about the referee, and the funniest was "Stand Up If You Hate the Ref."
So half the Stockport songs, to be
pretty much stood up in unison and went "Stand Up If You Hate the Ref." But I think we got behind the players, we backed the players, and they sort of, in return that, they dug in as well. It reminded me a little bit of Forest Green Rovers last season when we were 2-1 up and then down to 10 men. And there wasn't the moans, there wasn't the boos as our season was over and we'd failed. There was just a little bit, well, fair play, a season's fucked, but, today you showed backbone. So it was good for the fans to acknowledge that.
The only other incident we haven't commented on, Fifey, was the Noyle lunge.
Sorry, yes.
Call it that. Yes. On the keeper with studs up.
We didn't fully comment on the stamp one either. So let's discuss those two before we move on. Let's start with the Noyle lunge.
To me, and it wasn't the worst you will see, but he's gone in with his studs up. And he made contact, and to me, that should have been a red. I'll leave it out there.
On the other side, I was on the side. I'm on the Don Rogers, so I can see it. Noyle's facing me. It stood on. I couldn't tell whether he went with 1 or 2. If it was 2, then I think it's a straight red. It was a little bit late. I know Liam was arguing to death that Noyle had every right to go for that ball. And it was the keeper that dived into him. But I don't know if that's him trying to wind Swindon fans up, or that's what his general thoughts was because he's seen the replay. It did look a little bit late. If the ref had given red, I've seen them before. but it wasn't an obvious straight red, which some of the Swindon fans were screaming for. It was a yellow, and I went, fair enough. But
I think
don't know.
I think I'd agree with you. From what I saw, yes, it was late, but I think if they'd given a red, there couldn't be too many complaints. But equally, I wasn't there thinking I'd be screaming for a red, because he did have every right to go for the ball. Personally, in my opinion, anyway. Gary?
Yeah, I agree. I think he went for the ball. I think it was late challenge. It was coming together, two players, and a yellow card was sufficient. It felt like a red card would have been harsh.
Would he?
I think the frustrations of the game didn't help. But for me, the interest in freeze frame, which I hate using freeze frames in football because our dear friend Liam did it, is the ball looks like it's halfway. Now, what freeze frame doesn't tell you is how fast the ball's moving. There was no chance in hell, heaven or earth, that Noyle was getting to that ball. Absolutely, that ball was going at some pace, and he did go in with his studs up. So, regardless, let's get the rule book out again. Studs up is a red card, whether it's 1 foot or 2 foot. But am I surprised that it was a yellow? Not with some of the challenges that were letting go throughout that game. I mean, Johnny Williams should have gone as well.
Williams definitely should have gone.
Williams should have gone. Yeah, Williams should have gone. That was a high tackle on someone's ankle. So, it just...
Ben, you're so Arsene Wenger at times, aren't you? I didn't see it.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see it.
But it just goes to show,
I've heard about Williams, and I honestly, it's completely blank from my mind. So
I will find the clip of Williams and I will send it to you.
Yeah, if you can, because I've not seen it yet.
He should have gone, and I think he got booked, and I think he literally got taken off about 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
But yeah, he should have gone for that. So the ref was crap for both sides, but for me,
I think I messaged in our group actually during the game. I said Williams should have gone for that.
Yeah. Admittedly, when I was at that time, I didn't think it was, but when I've seen it from the other angle, the referee's angle, I'm surprised he didn't give a red. But yeah, it's Noyle's gone in studs up, and he was no way winning that ball. Yeah, he has a right to go for it, but by the time he's to ground, he can see the keeper's down to ground. And the ball's going way too fast. He had no chance of getting that. But he might have seen red. Noyle might have seen red, and has just gone too late. But it depends which rule book you're trying to imply, doesn't it?
Imagine the crowd's reaction if the Williams had got red, though. There'd been people on the pitch chasing the red.
We might have won.
Gary, Woody mentioned it earlier, but can we take a moment to talk about the, should we call it the altercation on the byline, which, I mean, again, I wasn't there, so I can't really comment, and the clips that I saw weren't exactly conclusive, but it does look very apparent there are, 3 stamps?
Yeah, it looked like it. I mean, it didn't look clever from where we were sort of seeing, even we were the other side of it, but yeah, it looked like that could have been. But again, the game was gone by then. The ref had lost control. Was he going to send someone off by that point? Probably not. It's just get out of the way. I mean, he even booked Jody Morris. I forgot about that in the game as well.
Yeah, Morris got booked, yeah.
Yeah, so the game was gone. He lost control of it. From the minute he said waking off, I think, the game went backwards. So, yeah, I wasn't surprised. It should have been a red if he played by the rules, but they weren't. So, hey-ho.
Okay. Anyone want to add anything else?
I think that was for me, that was the worst decision of the game. Because it is very, very clear. And again, that fucking useless linesman, it was very clear. The ball was kind of, Ben, I need one of you on Jack's reenactments, but the ball was nowhere near his side. And he's literally just kicked and kicked and kicked the, I can't remember if it was Clayton down but whoever it was on the floor, he just kicked him 3 times. I said to Nick straight away, I said, he's bloody kicking him there. Literally, he's not playing for the ball because he's kicking him in the fucking back. So yeah, that decision probably frustrated me more than the Wakeland one, arguably. But again, it's as Gary said, the game had gone then, and I think a scattering of offences that game meant the ref just lost control of it. It's not the reason we lost, but the ref did lose.
You're very keen to point out, no matter how
I'm
bad
very
the
keen
was.
because I don't want to be one of those fans that's blaming the ref for our loss, because I'm not. But he did lose control of the game.
He's a contributing factor.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Okay. Let's end the evening then with a couple of neighbourhood notices, as we seem to be doing more and more of these days. First of all, it was brought to my attention. I want to make sure I got this right as well. There is Wiltshire Shield action tomorrow against Salisbury, semi-final, I believe, was the message. So good luck to what I'm sure will be the much changed side for that game.
The forgotten men of Swindon, Adloy, Aguiar, all them players, the forgotten team.
Massey.
Yeah.
Just on the previous point, we've had this comment come in. Do the Linos only flag for offside in Division 4?
They don't even do that.
They are useless.
Fools are set to attend the sponsors dinner later this week. Ben, I know you're part of the group going. Are you looking forward to the evening?
Oh, I absolutely can't wait. It's like, yeah, I've not been to one before, and like I've always wondered what they'll be like, and meet a few players, see what they're really like as people. I generally have a little chit chat. Nice to have a little chit chat with Charlie as well, seeing how he is and everything.
I've just got this image of Ben going up and to every player and saying, "Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a man." No. I'm not going to say anything negative. No. I'm not going to do my impression of you with Clem, because that was hilarious. I can just imagine you going up to them all and saying, "Hi, I'm Ben. Big fan. Could you do me a favour? Please shoot." Just saying it to everybody. Please shoot. Shoot on sight.
You, Fifey.
I'm not going, otherwise I would. Please shoot. But yes, hopefully the group representing Fools have a wonderful evening on Thursday, and look forward to sharing a few pictures from the event as soon as I receive them. Gary, let me bring the next one to you. Did you see the report from Real EFL that apparently Colchester and Hibs will be back in for Williams?
I did see the rumour.
And your thoughts?
Some funny teams. I mean, Colchester of all teams, you thought.
Well, it's Ben Garner, isn't it?
Ben Garner.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
he dropped down to.
He only knows to sign Swindon players.
That is very true. Well, I mean, I can't imagine Williams is going to be here next season, much like Charlie Austin isn't going to be here either. I think we're going to see another clear out and another season of rebuild. So it wouldn't surprise these players move on. We knew there was transfer speculation in January. So yeah, another big names out the door. Get the big earners off the pay scheme, I guess.
Woody, your thoughts on that one?
Are Colchester safe in the drop yet? They're not, are they?
Not quite.
Not mathematically, but they're not. I don't think they're really in the
Probable.
conversation at the minute.
They're probably safe. Well, if they're National League, there's no fucking chance, is there? So Williams isn't dropping to National League.
No.
The Hibs could be possible that just come up again. Sometimes I just wonder if people think we've got some strange relationship with Hibs, to be totally honest. That we seem to just be linked to players, and feeder club for Hibs.
I think Harry McCurdy might have something to say about that. He'd be getting my mate in.
Yeah,
so again, I don't think Harry might have much.
Then I don't think Harry will be at Hibs at the end of the season. No. So, but it's I tend not to look too much into rumours at this stage of the season, because that's a long old. What we're in April, nearly May and June, so we've still got a month and a half until nearly 2 months until the transfer window opens. So I think it's all just speculation. It's all a drunk agent has linked something to the media, isn't it? It's I'm not looking too much into it. I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, I'll open the next one up to everyone. So jump in if you want to, but please do give me a chance to do it justice. If you haven't seen this, it is well worth a look. So everyone will be familiar with Dan Hunt. He does a lot of stuff with Low Strangers. We'll know all about him. And he shared some comments that from his own words, the world famous Low Strangers WhatsApp group, which I can only imagine is just as entertaining as the Wiltshire famous Fools Rush In WhatsApp group. But
I can't see it being anywhere near as much bickering. They get on too well on that show. They don't ever fall out. They respect each other's opinions. It's amazing.
I'm going to ask you, do you guys ever fall out in the WhatsApp group, or is it just us?
I think it's worth asking.
Okay, well, I promise I'll ask that question for you, Ben.
I respect your opinions, Ben, unless they're the wrong ones.
Yes, exactly that.
Now we've all had a moan about this over weeks, months, years now. But Dan has shared some comments and some actual research he's done into Swindon's home form. And it's a sensational bit of text. So I'm going to read it out as he shared it. So he's put here, these are his actual words. You can find this on Twitter under his account. I've banged on about it before. I'm going to keep banging on about it. Why are #STFC so bad at home? Over a long period now, including lots of fourth tier, even fantastic home crowds of the last 2 seasons, hasn't arrested the decline. And then he shares the facts from the WhatsApp group. Swindon's last 175 home league games. Played 175, 171, drawn 39, lost 60. I mean, look at the pain in Woody's face just then. Lost 65. Okay. Points 242, points per game 1.38. We are just terrible at home. Don't forget, these 175 games include the Wellands promotion season where we were dynamite at home. And then he's put Swindon's last 174 away league games. 161, drawn 40, lost 73. Points 223. So for those who are keeping track, that's 19 points less than we've got at home in the same amount of time. Points per game, 1.28. Goes on to say, this isn't a... Sorry, Gareth.
Still no season tickets.
Yeah, I don't think the club will be pushing them stats.
He goes on to say, this isn't a statistical blip. This is a club cultural. In the 184 home league games that preceded the last set, it was 193, drawn 49, lost 42, points 328 at a PPG of 1.78. And then he goes on to conclude, and this included the horror Wilson Hart home season, where we won 5 out of 23. We've now had over 400,000 fans through the gate in the 21-22 and 22-23 seasons at an average of 9,531. So the fans in the community are absolutely doing our bit, back the club to the hilt. And this is the home form we produce over 2 seasons. Such a missed opportunity for Fortress CG. Over 5,100 season ticket holders this year too. And then again, he balances it out. 17-18 plus 18-19 plus 19-20 seasons equals 441,407 total attendance. So that was an average of 6,791. And then the last message just reads, get your shit together, STFC. Now, again, we've all had our say on home form, but the research done there by Dan is obviously incredible and invaluable for backing up the point. But Woody, again, I'll come to you first because I saw your reaction to that first set of home results. Did you realise it was quite so bad?
I didn't realise it was quite so bad, and I've always been of a person that is never really that bothered about a home versus away record, just because I think, is there a massive advantage minus the crowd now? But bearing in mind that our away crowd is better than our home crowd normally. But I was quite surprised at how many that it's something like 100 games we haven't won at home out of the 170.
Yeah, so played 175, we've won 71 of them, so we haven't won
exactly
174 of them.
And
104, sorry.
That includes a title winning season as well.
Yes.
It's a title winning season where we had a very good points per game average.
Yes.
PPG, the best way to win leagues. But yeah, so it was a surprise to me. I just didn't think it was that bad. I knew we were bad at home and have been for a while, but I had no idea it was that bad. I thought we were still picking up points against, at least the bottom third of the league, and that would suggest that we're not picking up points against every team that we play in the bottom half of the league. So, yeah, strange, isn't it? But Dan, you got way too much time on your hands, sunshine. but yeah,
Nick, does it surprise? Oh, sorry, Ben, go on.
I'll just say it somewhat gives you the answer to why the atmosphere is so flat at the county ground. Because the expectation is
we just don't see wins.
Because we just don't see wins anymore. We're not enthralled. We don't see Swindon Town creating lots and lots of chances. So everyone's a little bit cynical and pessimistic, and
we must be.
Which is a shame, because I remember the county ground being a bit of a fortress. Yeah. I remember the county ground being really noisy. I remember losing my voice every time I used to go. Nick would say the same when he passed them. I'm sure one show can remember those days in the town end when when it used to be the ultras as well, and then you could just sing throughout the game, and each player had their own song. And even back in the day with Chivy Road, and that used to be really intimidating because you had abuse at the opposition wingers and fullbacks and stuff, and they could probably hear you, and you used to really give it to them. And the famous one with Mark Hughes had a fight with one of the fans. And it's sort of gone, and it's sort of flat, and then it's a nice big flat pitch which is quite easy to play on, and the fans are quite quiet, and you've got your support in the corner over there, and if they've got pretty good support, they usually sing louder. As Harry McCurdy says, you could hear the Notts County fans, but you couldn't hear the Swindon fans because it's dead. So it doesn't surprise me. Pretty pitch, a team that's playing quite soft football, drop lots of points.
Nick, are you in any way surprised by those numbers?
No, not really. I did some figures on this season actually. Because there was a lot of talk about our away form being better than the home form.
Okay.
Actually, excluding Saturday's game, we had a win percentage of 41% at home and 32% away. I was just doing it on win percentages.
Okay.
With an overall 36%. But the other thing, and might be one of the reasons why we are flat at the county ground, in the first 15 minutes of games, bearing in mind we conceded, I think, to that date I did it, was 42 goals we conceded, which was only Mansfield had conceded more than us in the top 10 team. Mm-hmm. We conceded 10 goals in the first 15 minutes of games. So that puts us on the back foot straight away. Yeah. And then at the other end, we conceded 10 goals in the last 15 minutes of games. So either end, we're poor, and it deflates you at the start, and then it just does your head in at the end. Because virtually half of our goals have been scored against us, even the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes. So what that says about the team, and I'm sure somebody can work it out. God only knows.
No, it's very valid and fascinating to know the actual numbers for this year. So thank you, Nick. Gary,
someone needs to send those stats. Someone needs to send those stats on to Clem and let him read it.
Sandro, he's the stat man. Send to fucking Sandro.
But in all fairness, we sit here and talk about how great it's been to buy the county ground this week, and we're going to have.
What's the point in buying something we're going to lose at?
Well, exactly, because you're not going to get fans in and enjoying the great museums and hotels if we're crap every week and losing. Generally,
it's a very, very good point.
Unless we give the hotel to the away team, come here, have a lovely stay, and take 3 points home.
The most popular team in the league.
3 points. See you later, lads.
But they've got to do something with the pitch and what's on the pitch. They can't just go, we're going to make this great stadium, but still be shit on the pitch and lose every other week. Because Swindon generally have a good season followed by 2 or 3 shit seasons, generally.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we're coming to the end of our cycle of shit seasons, if that is the case.
We've got another 2 more. Last season was decent.
Wow, was it?
It was also a failure, but let's not go down that rabbit hole again.
It was good until the last game. Let's just say that.
I think that is the perfect place to bring this episode to a close. Thank you, first of all, to the 3 ladies who joined us at the beginning of the show. Their time was invaluable and a very enjoyable first opening hour listening to them. Woody, you've been here for the entirety. Thank you very much for your time this evening. And Nick, Gary, Ben, thank you very much for joining. Thank you to everyone who's joined in the chat, whether that was via Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. And if you are listening back, thank you for your time as well. For those going to the sponsors evening on Thursday, enjoy yourselves. Have a wonderful time. Look forward to seeing lots of pictures and hearing lots of stories. We will be back on Friday, where we are due to be joined again by members of Swindon Town Women. We've got Grant, the non-polarising member of Lower League Look, joining us as well. And I do believe, if I remember right, I will double check, but I do think obviously Friday Night Joe will probably be here, but we're also due to be joined by Lady Joe. Miss Archer is due to join the panel as well. Lots of excitement for Friday Night Fools. But until then, thank you very much. Have a great week, and we will speak to you Friday. Good night.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling